good evening and welcome to the August 19th, 2024 Zoning Hearing Master Meeting. I'm Pamela Jo Hatley and I'll be serving as your Zoning Hearing Master this evening. Before we get started, please stand as you're able for Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thank you. And again, I'm Pamela Jo Hatley, and I'll be serving as your Zoning Hearing Master. If you have any devices this evening that make noise, would you please take a moment to silence those at this time? And thank you for that. Now, I would like to introduce Ms. Michelle Heinrich of the Development Services Department. She will introduce any agenda changes, withdrawals, and continuances, and staff members tonight.
Good evening, Michelle Heinrich, Development Services. Up here at the dais with the County Attorney's Office, we have Cameron Clark, and with the Planning Commission, David Hay. And I'll go ahead and go over just one unpublished change, which is Agenda Page 4, Item A3. This is PD Rezoning 24-0591. The application is out of order and is continued to October 15th, not the 16th, ZHM hearing. And I can go over the published continuances and withdrawals if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Our first item is item A1, Major Mod 24-0397. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the September 16th, 2024 ZHM hearing. Item A2, this is PD Rezoning 24-0537. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the September 16th, 2024 ZHM hearing. Item A3, PD Rezoning 24-0591. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the October 15th, 2024 ZHM hearing. Item A4, Major Mod 24-0675. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the September 16th, 2024 ZHM hearing. Item A5, Major Mod 24-0677. This application is being continued by the applicant to the September 16th, 2024 ZHM hearing. Item A6, PD Rezoning 24-0679. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the September 16th, 2024 ZHM hearing. Item A7, Major Mod 24-0691. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the September 16th, 2024 ZHM hearing. Item A8, PD Rezoning 24-0701. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the September 16th, 2024 ZHM hearing. Item A9, PD 24-0707. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the October 15th, 2024 ZHM hearing. Item A10, PD Rezoning 24-0722. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the September 16th, 2024 ZHM hearing. Item A11, Major Mod 24-0731. This application has been withdrawn from the hearing process. Item A12, PD 24-0780. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the October 15th, 2024 ZHM hearing. Item A13, Major Mod 24-0788. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the September 16th, 2024 ZHM hearing. Item A14, PD 24-0789. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the September 16th, 2024 ZHM hearing. Item A15, Standard Rezoning 24-0878. This application is being continued by the applicant to the September 16th, 2024 ZHM hearing. Item A16, Standard Rezoning 24-0909. This application has been withdrawn from the hearing process. And item A17, Standard Rezoning 24-0986. This application is being withdrawn from the hearing process. And that concludes the changes.
All right, thank you. All right, meeting procedures tonight. The agenda tonight consists of items that require a public hearing by a hearing master before going to the Board of County Commissioners for a final decision. I will conduct a hearing on each agenda item and will submit a written recommendation. My recommendations will be filed with the clerk of the board within 15 working days after the conclusion of today's public hearing. The Board of County Commissioners will consider the record of today's public hearing and my recommendation and will make the final decision on the application at a publicly noticed meeting at a date and time set by the Board of County Commissioners. The hearings today will be informal. I will ask questions related to the scope of direct testimony and may call and question witnesses as I deem appropriate. I will decide all questions of procedure. I will take evidence, but will exclude evidence that is irrelevant, immaterial, or unduly repetitious. Evidence may be presented in written form, and all testimony shall be under oath. Hearsay evidence may be used to supplement or explain other evidence, but shall not be sufficient alone to support a finding of fact unless it would be admissible over objections in a civil court action. The order of presentation shall be as follows. First of all, county staff will introduce each item. The applicant and the applicant's witnesses will have 15 minutes to present the proposal. County Development Services will have 5 minutes to present its findings and recommendations. Planning Commission will have 5 minutes to present its findings of compliance or non-compliance with the comprehensive plan. Proponents will have 15 minutes to present arguments in support of the proposal. Opponents will have 15 minutes to present arguments against a proposal. County staff will have 5 minutes to present any amended recommendations, and then the applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal and summation. The 15 minutes for proponents and opponents is the total time allotted among all speakers. So if there are a number of persons who wish to speak, the 15 minutes will be distributed among those speakers. Also, if there are a number of speakers who wish to address an item, you may designate a single spokesperson to represent your views. When you come to the microphone to speak, please first state your name and address for the record. This meeting is being recorded, so please speak into the microphone so your testimony can be recorded. And when you're finished speaking, please see the clerk to my left here to sign in for the record. Now we'll hear from the county attorney's office for the legal requirements for requesting oral argument at the public hearing where the Board of County Commissioners will make the final decision on each item.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Officer. Good evening. My name is Cameron Clark. I'm an assistant county attorney. Tonight's public hearing is the first step of a two-step rezoning process. This hearing is a time for rezoning applicants and interested parties to present evidence and testimony. Any evidence presented tonight will become the complete factual record of each application, and no additional evidence can be introduced after the closing of each application. The second step of the rezoning process is a public meeting before the Board of County Commissioners, where the board will take a decision on each application heard tonight. Tonight's applications are scheduled to be heard by the board at its October 8th land use meeting. When considering applications, the board will only review the record created at tonight's hearing and the recommendation made by the hearing master for each application. The hearing master will file the recommendation for each application heard tonight on September 10th. The Board of County Commissioners has established a policy that directs which rezoning and major modification applications are to be placed on the consent agenda of the board's land use meeting. Applications that propose to add density outside the urban service area and applications that are on roadways with a failing level of service are not qualified for placement on the consent agenda. Applications that do not have consistent recommendations of approval or denial are also not qualified to be placed on the consent agenda. And finally, applications that have had evidence or testimony provided into the record by non-applicant parties of record, either prior to or at tonight's public hearing, are not qualified for placement on the consent agenda. The board will allow testimony by any party of record at its public meeting to consider the hearing master's recommendation for any item on the regular agenda. Testimony by a party of record shall be limited to the record of the proceedings before the hearing master unless additional evidence has been found admissible in accordance with Section 10.03.04D of the Land Development Code. A party of record is someone who fits into at least one of the following four categories. First, someone who's present tonight and presents testimony or documentary evidence. Second, someone who has been certified by the U.S. Postal Service as having been mailed notice of tonight's hearing. Third, someone who submitted documentary evidence to the master file at least 2 business days before tonight's hearing. or fourth, someone who submitted documentary evidence to the record by proxy at tonight's hearing. The content of oral argument before the board shall be limited to the content of the testimony and other evidence that is submitted verbally or in writing to the hearing master tonight. It's the role of the county attorney's office to ensure that only individuals who have met these requirements are allowed to speak before the board, and to ensure that no new evidence or testimony is introduced or allowed at the board's public meeting. For these reasons, please make sure that all information you wish the board to consider at its public meeting is entered in the record tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. All right, all testimony tonight must be under oath. So if you plan to speak on any item tonight, please stand and raise your hand to be sworn in. If there are any persons who are online who plan to speak, please also raise your hand to be sworn in. All right. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give tonight is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right.
I do.
Thank you. All right, we're ready to hear the first case.
Our first item is item C1, standard rezoning 24-0725. The applicant is requesting to rezone property from ASC1 to M. Isis Brown with Development Services will provide staff findings after the applicant's presentation.
Good evening, Ryan Manassi with Johnson Pope, 400 North Ashley Drive, Suite 3100. So we're here tonight regarding the application standard rezoning file 24-0725. And our request before you is to rezone from the existing agricultural single-family conventional, ASC1, to the manufacturing zoning district, M. The site consists of 1.33 acres, more or less, and has a future land use category of UMU 20. Also, the site is located in the urban service area and the Brandon community plan. You'll notice the site is surrounded by manufacturing zoning districts to the north, south, east, and west. And also you may notice from the aerials here that the majority of the immediately surrounding uses are for open storage, with one of the lots being vacant to the south. And I provided more of a 3D visual here, and this is just to show you the subject site, which is shaded in blue, outlined in yellow. This helps understand the makeup of the established zoning and uses in this part of the county. Hobbs Street abuts our site, and Fisher Street is to the south, labeled there as well. Just a more zoomed out version aerial. You'll notice I-75 to your east, or the right side of the screen, as well as Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, the jail, which is to the left-hand side of the screen. And then the majority of the parcels that are surrounding our request tonight are a mixture of intense commercial, industrial type uses. So none of the review agencies object to our request, and there were no waivers or conditions presented in this request. As far as compatibility, the area has been transitioning to this character, in character to light manufacturing, storage, and other uses similarly found in these, the manufacturing zoning district. You'll notice in the staff report, Planning Commission staff found the request consistent with the comprehensive plan, and Development Services recommends the rezoning as being approvable based on the proposed manufacturing zoning district being compatible with the existing zoning district and development pattern in the area. And then just in conclusion, we have not received any opposition to our request. Again, Development Services and Planning Commission staff have found us consistent and approvable. The proposed manufacturing zoning is consistent and compatible with the surrounding zoning districts and established uses in this area. And with that, I would respectfully request your support, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. This presentation was turned into the clerk as well for your review.
Okay, thank you for that. I have reviewed the case, and I understand your request, and I don't have any questions for you.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Be sure and sign in.
Good evening, Isis Brown, Development Services. The request is for a rezone of approximately 1.33 acres from agricultural single-family conventional 1 to manufacturing. The proposed density would be 0.75 FAR, which would leave approximately 43,451 square feet. Where is it? There we go. All right. The surrounding site is manufactured to the north, south, east, and west, the property zoning, that is, with the future land use of UMU 20. Staff, sorry. Planning Commission found that the proposed rezone is consistent, and based on the consistency and the compatibility zoning pattern, staff finds the request approvable. I'm available for any questions.
All right, thank you very much. No questions for you. Planning Commission?
Good evening, Planning Commission staff. David Hay, Planning Commission staff. The site is located within that urban mixed-use 20 future land use category. As stated, it is located within the urban service area and falls within the boundaries of the Brandon Community Plan. The site, as stated, is in that urban service area where, according to Objective 1 of the future land use element, 80% of the county's growth is to be directed. Policy 1.4 requires all new development to be compatible with the surrounding area, noting that compatibility does not mean the same as, rather it refers to the sensitivity of development proposals in maintaining the character of existing development. The area is trending toward non-residential light industrial type uses. Flew Objective 16 and its accompanying policies 16.1, 16.2, 16.3, 16.5 and 16.10 require new development to be compatible to the surrounding neighborhood. Goal 12 and Objective 12-1 of the community design component of the future land use element require new developments to recognize the existing community and be designed to relate to and be compatible with the predominant character of the surrounding area. In this case, the surrounding land use pattern is mostly light industrial uses. The rezoning will complement the pattern as the M zoning district surrounds the subject site on all sides. The proposal meets the intent of Flew Objective 1, Flew Objective 16, Goal 12, and Objective 12-1 of the community design component and all the accompanying policies for each. With the site being located within that urban mixed-use 20 future land use category, that UMU 20 category does allow consideration for similar non-residential uses. Therefore, Planning Commission staff did determine that it meets Flew Objective 7, Flew Objective 8, and each of their respective policies. The site is within the limits of the Brandon Community Plan, specifically the Light Industrial Character District. Strategy 5, under Goal 6 of the Brandon Community Plan, notes that design characteristics for each Brandon Character District are descriptive to the general nature of the vicinity and its surroundings. The Light Industrial Character District is the northwest area of Brandon devoted primarily to business parks, light industrial, and government uses. The proposal meets the intent of Goal 6 of the Brandon Community Plan and is therefore consistent with the Brandon Character Districts map and characteristics of the light industrial district. Overall, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed use as an allowable use in that UMU 20 category, is compatible with the existing development pattern found within the surrounding area, and does support the vision of the Brandon Community Plan. Based on those considerations and the goals, objectives, and policies stated within the submitted staff report, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed rezoning consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hay. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? Do not hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, do not hear anyone. Development Services, anything further?
No, ma'am, nothing further.
All right, thank you. Applicant, anything further?
Ryman asks for the record, no.
All right, thank you. This closes the hearing on rezoning standard 24-0725.
Our next item is item C2, standard rezoning 24-0862. The applicant is requesting a rezone property from CG to CR restricted or CI restricted. Michelle Montalbano with Development Services will provide staff findings after the applicant's presentation.
RZ Standard 24-0862, rezoning from CG to CIR. at 1.06 acres. Future land use category is SMU 6. We're located in the Seffner Mango area along Highway 92. This is as the property appraiser has it, again along Highway 92. Planning Commission finds the site consistent. The restriction, which is very important for this application, is the use is for just an open storage of domestic vehicles in conjunction with a towing company. That's a use that's very quiet, extremely low trips, no infrastructure, extremely low activity. Additionally, only the front entire property will be rezoned, leaving the northern half zoned as it currently exists. I'll show you that in detail. So looking at the zoning map, we have CG on one side, CI, and CG on the other side with CI very close by, CG across the street. The AS1, which currently is AS1, stays the same. The part that would be zoned to CI restricted is shown here and is in the record under legal. The idea from staff was they wanted to see the uses push more towards Highway 92 away from the residential and the AS1 in the rear, which we were happy to accommodate. So as the property appraiser shows that the area of rezoning for the CIR lines up with the lot lines to the east, as you can see here, and that would be the area towards the front on Highway 92. That allows great buffers and screening. On the west is a public land strip of 56 feet that runs through the area, and I have it at about 210 feet from the rear where the residential is located.
Okay, can I stop you 1 second, please? I just want to make sure I understand the zoning. So there's a part of the parcel that is AS1, and that is not being rezoned at all.
Correct.
All right, and then there's the parcel, the rest of it is CG, and part of it's being left CG, but part of it is being requested to rezone to CI restricted. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you. Looking along the corridor, CI and CG zoning categories are located all throughout the corridor. It's a very intensive corridor. Looking at the future land use map, the site is SMU 6, which allows light industrial, multi-purpose, research, corporate parks, neighborhood commercial. So it's a very intensive future land use category course. CMU 12 is across the street, a little bit to the east, which is an even more intense future land use category. And looking at that corridor, it is either all SMU 6 or CMU 12, very intensive. Development Services notes located along the commercial corridor, there's general and intensive commercial uses. Neighboring on the east is a CG zone parcel that occupies a vehicle salvage yard. To the west is a small strip and motel zone CG. And you can see in the aerial that there's very intensive uses in the immediate vicinity, various commercial and industrial, as the Development Services Department notes. Highway 92 is a very busy roadway. It carries 12,400 vehicles per day. It is stated under Hillsborough County roadway classification as a principal state arterial highway, which is the highest function of the roadways in Hillsborough County. Comprehensive plan does have one main policy about offering incentives for higher land use densities and intensities along the transit emphasis local service corridors. That's designed, of course, to bring in density and intensity where roadways are compatible and where investments in those roadways are widening or making them more efficient for transportation. Now, Seffner Mango Community Plan under a goal, and this is a goal which is a major direction of the community plan, is that commercial development should be directed to the US 92 and Martin Luther King Boulevard corridors. That's also found as well in a strategy under the community plan, recognizing the commercial character of US 19 and Martin Luther King Boulevard within an urban area. So these plans, the entire Seffner Mango Community Plan area, designate two roadways and two roadways only that these type of uses should be directed towards. And Seffner Mango Community Plan also notes on the strategy to support infill development and redevelopment within the urban service area while providing compatibility with existing uses. So this is certainly an infill site, and according to the Planning Commission, and of course our opinion is that we are compatible with the existing uses. And the Planning Commission notes the proposed rezoning is consistent with the urban service area and the existing development pattern, It does support the Sefton-Mango Community Plan, allows for development is consistent and compatible with the development pattern in the surrounding area. Under FDOT and Transportation Department, this is a standard application. We have not submitted any transportation, wasn't required, as you well know. There is no site plan. Our position, our direction is that these elements and these concerns, of course, would have to be addressed in permitting and site planning if the zoning is approved. FDOT in their reports to us envisions potentially large, long, multi-car carriers. This operator only uses single-car operators, a single-car tow truck, or a single flatbed. The transportation communications do offer solutions like using adjacent access. We'll, of course, have a transportation engineer address and look at those issues at that time. And FDOT also questioned why restricting only to a single use, which I think we made very apparent is the owner intends to use it strictly for their business, which they're very active with in the county. When you look at the county transportation report, of course, this use has a very low trip rate, 34 trips in a 24-hour, a 2 a.m. peak and a 3 p.m. peak, which according to the county report, compared with what could be permissible, or as they made the comparison, would be a drastic reduction in what could be permissible at the site. The operators have been operating in Hillsborough County for quite some time. They have a great history. I wanted to present a letter from the Florida Highway Patrol, Lieutenant Dave Fry, who notes that this company has been with FHP for 2 years. They provide excellent service to the public and agency. They operate in several zones. They keep trucks presentable. Background driver license checks always are included and always are very positive. And from Sheriff's Office, Melissa Brewster, who is in charge of vehicle, as the vehicle impound officer, notes that they've worked with the Sheriff's Office since 1997. They've been an asset to the agency and they operate in several zones. So their work is primarily involved with the law enforcement agencies and those agencies that need a response for tow trucks for their work. So with that, in summary, we have significantly reduced and reshaped the area of the rezoning. We have increased the buffers and the screening. It is a use that is extremely low in activity, trips. The only thing really that could be lower is a cell tower. Supported by adjoining and nearby zoning and roadway intensity, supported by the intensive future land use category, Planning Commission supports, Sefton-Mango plan supports. They have a great operating history in the county. And as of August 17th, when I checked, there's been no neighborhood contact or letters or emails into the county. They've been noticed, the area's been noticed twice for a total of 32 public notices, plus the yellow sign on site. So with that, we appreciate your attention and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, just a couple. First, on the staff report, there's a proposed condition, and I don't really quite understand the way the condition is worded. It says the use shall be limited to depositing and open storage of domestic vehicles in conjunction with a towing service. That's pretty straightforward, but the other sentence is the only exception shall be commercial vehicles parked, stored, and used on the site by the towing company. So that would be the towing vehicles, the
That
wreckers?
would be, as I understand it, they're excluding commercial vehicles, large trucks, 18-wheelers, equipment, things of that nature, as I understand it.
That are used by the business, right?
No, that's the point, is they don't include those type of vehicles in their operation. So
I guess I just don't understand the way it's worded. The use is limited to depositing and open storage of domestic vehicles. The only exception shall be commercial vehicles parked, stored, and used on the site. What does that mean to you?
well, actually, I'm going to pull it up so I can read it, make sure I'm on the same page.
I just want to make sure how the applicant understands that is how it's intended. I'm not sure I quite understand it.
Which page are you on, if I may ask?
This is in the staff report on page 8. And I don't want to put you on the spot, Mr. Pressman. If you aren't prepared to speak on what that means, I'll ask staff to explain it.
Why don't we do that, and I'll
Okay.
review it while
Okay.
they're speaking. Thank you.
That's fine. Thank you for that. Also, I guess it doesn't seem in this case there's any concern with compatibility. It seems that's pretty clear, but the transportation reviewing staff had a concern, and I believe that's about access. So I guess, I mean, the only other thing your client could have requested a plan development zoning so that that was addressed up front.
That could have been an option. I will say, and this is not a criticism, it's really easy to make a direction or suggestion to do a PD. But for smaller businesses, the PDs are extremely expensive. The filing fees are expensive, civil engineering, transportation analysis, that generates into environmental reviews. It's a cascading effect. So on smaller business perspective, they like to go through the first step and see if the zoning use is going to be permissible. If it is, then they'll go on to step number 2 when they have assurance and certainty that they can do what they want to do. I think that's reasonable. Clearly, that's how the zoning category is either a standard or a PD. I think we move forward with the standard. The purpose of the standard is to see if you get zoning approval.
All right,
go
and
from
then I guess following that logic, if zoning approval occurs, and then you get held up in the site development stage because you can't provide access that's acceptable, aren't you back to square one?
Well, I think you're at square 2, but you work through those issues. But I think the important thing is that the Transportation Department, FDOT, are clearly on the record as to what their concerns are.
Okay.
And the applicant's aware of those. I always make the applicant aware that there's concerns in that regard. But there clearly is always a working area with a good transportation expert to work with the transportation people. And I can tell you the FDOT and the transportation part of the county want to get people approved if they can. So it's usually a good work product. It's usually a good relationship to work forward at that step.
Okay. All right, that's all my questions for you. Thank you. And I guess, well, one more thought is, I suppose if
okay.
you had a transportation expert with you tonight, you would have introduced that already,
Yes, we
and you
would
don't.
have. Yeah.
Okay, that's
And
fine.
If you want to go back to that condition, okay. So I did reread it, and I appreciate that because I do have a different understanding.
Okay.
I believe, as I understand it, and staff will communicate as well, that they're accepting if there's any commercial vehicles that are normally in the operation of the towing company.
Yeah, that's
That
what
would be the only exception.
the towing company's own vehicles.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No more questions for you. Thank you so much. All right, and be sure and sign in, Mr. Pressman.
This is 5 minutes remaining, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Creech would like to make a comment or two. Do you still want to make a comment? Okay. If she may, please.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Hi, my name is Linnell Creech. We are the owners, my husband and I, of the API property at this location at 11222 US 92, Sefner, Florida 33584.
Okay.
Like he said, we're a small, family-owned, family-operated towing company. We do pretty much mainly sheriff's rotation, Tampa Police Department, Florida Highway Patrol. The amount of vehicles that we get there is maximum 5, on average 3, including the one person that works there. We are limited to a certain area that everyone wants us to be in, and this is the area that they're saying that they want us to be in, that accommodates everybody and it accommodates for the site location. Like you said, we are a small family company. We don't have that kind of money to do all that additional stuff, especially if it comes back and then it's not going to work for us. So then we just lost all that money. We don't have that kind of money. And that was it.
Okay, are you operating at the subject property now, or where is your business operating?
We have a couple different locations. As of right now, yes, my husband, yes, we're operating right there as of right now.
You are operating there?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. This is Michelle Montalbano with Development Services. I'm here to present 240862. The applicant is requesting to rezone approximately 1.06 acres of property from commercial general to commercial intensive with restrictions. The request is a partial rezoning of approximately the front half of the property facing US Highway 92. The remaining property would remain in their respective zoning districts of AS1 and CG. The proposed restriction is to limit the allowable use to the open storage of domestic vehicles in conjunction with the towing company. I want to go back to that condition because you had questions about it. It was straight from their request. So it's the only exception to the domestic vehicles parked would be the commercial vehicles in conjunction with the towing company.
Okay, and so just to make sure I understand that, that would be the towing company's own vehicles, right?
Correct.
All right, and so the depositing and open storage of domestic vehicles, that contemplates the kind of vehicles they will be towing and storing on site?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, no problem. The land is classified as vacant, but there are no site development applications in the record, but the land may already be in use as the land was recently cleared. The surrounding zoning districts are mainly CG and CI, with residential uses off of the main roads. Abutting the property to the east is a CG zone property with an open storage use. Abutting to the west are a strip of public lands, and then a motel zoned CG. To the rear of the full parcel are mobile home residences zoned AS1, but the partial rezoning will not directly abut these parcels. The proposed open storage use will not be permitted in the AS1 and CG zoned area. Transportation review staff has objections to the request due to the property's anticipated access to US Highway 92. FDOT staff also had concerns in their comments. County staff notes more information is necessary to determine if the proposal can be supported. For these reasons, staff finds the request not supportable. If you have any questions, let me know.
Well, I would like to hear from the transportation staff, just to put that on the record, what their objection is.
Okay, I believe there's somebody on the line.
We should have transportation staff available to speak.
All right.
Good evening, Madam Zoning Hearing Master. This is Richard Perez with the Transportation Review Section. Staff's comments provided for the report are an objection to this proposed rezoning. As is standard practice, the county requires FDOT to review and provide comments when a site's access is taken from their facility to ensure that access can be permitted. If FDOT cannot permit access for the proposed use, we cannot support the proposed rezoning. In this case, FDOT expressed safety and operational concerns with the proposed use and indicated that additional information was necessary to review the site access. However, the applicant did not provide any additional or propose any additional information or propose any restrictions that might address FDOT's concerns. Of specific note, the access concern is related to vehicles, large vehicles, towing other vehicles, making those movements in and out of the site. Additionally, the ability to drop them off and accommodate them on site so that drop-off doesn't have to take place out in the right-of-way and potentially impeding traffic. FDOT also expressed concerns about the proximity of the commercial driveway that would be needed to serve this site with guard railing that's along the frontage of the property, which would limit the ability to locate that driveway on US 92. Additionally, while the applicant did state that the operator doesn't that the operator doesn't utilize certain types of vehicles, there were no proposed restrictions related to the type or size of vehicles that would be operated that could possibly be enforceable to address that concern. And last but not least, as noted in our comments, it's not advisable to approve a zoning district which allows only one use on a site which could potentially not provide a conforming access to FDOT standards.
Okay, so I guess my question for you then would be, what additional information might the applicant have provided, or might they provide, that would address those concerns? Or at least all of the concerns except zoning for one particular use?
Certainly. So FDOT did provide written comments, and at the meeting that the applicant attended, county staff was there as well. They indicated that auto turn analysis could be provided to show that those vehicles, how those vehicles would, the largest vehicles that would be used could enter and exit the site. And they did indicate a conceptual site plan would be necessary for them to properly evaluate the access to the site.
All right, thank you very much. That's all my questions for you. All right, then Planning Commission.
Thank you. David Hay, Planning Commission staff. The site is located within the Suburban Mixed Use 6 future land use category. It is located within this urban service area and does fall within the Seffner-Mango community plan boundaries. The subject property has multiple zoning designations and follows the general zoning pattern of the area. The smaller zoning district in the northern portion of the lot is zoned AS1, and the southern and larger portion of the lot is zoned CG. The applicant is requesting to rezone a portion of the CG zoning district within the subject site to CI and requesting that the AS1 portion and a small portion of the existing CG zoning district to remain. Ultimately, the applicant is proposing one parcel to have 3 different zoning districts to be located on the subject site. The subject site is not required to meet commercial locational criteria in accordance with Objective 22 of the future land use element. It is considered an industrial related use under that CI, and so it's not CLC requirements, or it's not subject to those. Under the Suburban Mixed Use 6 future land use category, this type use is anticipated under that category. This request maintains the neighborhood compatibility by not proposing any CI uses that are adjacent to residential uses and continues the existing historical pattern of the CI zoning districts that are nearby. Policy 1.4 requires all new developments to be compatible with the surrounding area, and it refers to the sensitivity of that development proposals in maintaining the character of the existing development. The proposed rezoning meets the intent of the Seffner-Mango Community Plan. Per the Seffner-Mango Community Plan, Goal 3 is to direct commercial development to the US 92 and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard corridors, with strategies to support that goal by supporting infill development and redevelopment within the urban service area, and supporting office and light industrial uses along US 92 and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard between I-75 and County Road 579, Mango Road. Overall, staff finds that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the intent of the urban service area and the existing development pattern found within the surrounding area, and does support the vision of the Seffner-Mango Community Plan. The proposed rezoning would allow for development that is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies in the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. The request is compatible with the existing and planned development pattern found within the surrounding area. Based upon those considerations and the goals, objectives, and policies contained within the submitted staff report, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed major modification, actual rezoning, consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, subject to any restrictions proposed by the Development Services Department. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? All right, don't hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, do not hear anyone. County Development Services, anything further?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Applicant.
Thank you, Hearing Officer. I will add that we've had a lot of discussion about the type of vehicles that would be used, and we would be open to a restriction that any of the towing operation would only be a single towed vehicle operation. So it would be one vehicle per tow truck, whether that be a tow truck or a flatbed. And if that condition makes it more comfortable for you, I think it would, for the staff potentially in the future, that would be a restriction we'd be happy to accept.
All right, most likely that's something that staff would have to take back and evaluate, and it might require a continuance of the case. Would that be correct? Ms.
Yes,
Heine?
ma'am.
All right. Would you
No,
consider
move,
that?
No, we'll move forward.
You'll move forward?
Yep.
Okay. Anything further then you wish to?
No, but thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Pressman. All right, that closes the hearing on rezoning standard 24-0862.
Our next application is item C3, standard rezoning 24-0877. The applicant is requesting to rezone property from RSC6 MH to RMC6. Carol Ann Peddle with Development Services will provide staff findings after the applicant's presentation.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Kowal with Landis Evans and Partners. Our address is 3810 Northdale Boulevard in Tampa. I am here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Florida Home Partnership. The subject site is approximately 1.9 acres. The property is located within the Waimama Overlay District, and it is located on the northeast corner of Bassa Street and Railroad Street. The property is currently just contains some vacant residential structures and is zoned RSC6 residential single-family conventional with a mobile home overlay. The adjacent uses include an acquired environmental ELAP property to the north, mobile homes to the east and south, and single-family detached to the southwest and west. The property is within the Residential 6 future land use category, as all of the surrounding residential properties are, with the exception of the North ELAP property, which currently has the Waimama Village Residential 2 future land use. The ELAP land to the north was dedicated through a planned development zoning district. The zoning of the adjacent single-family residential properties are all RSC6 with the mobile home overlay. The current request is to rezone the property from RSC6 with the mobile home overlay to RMC6, residential multifamily conventional. This would allow the development of a maximum 11 townhome units. The development will be subject to the RMC development standards and the Waimama Downtown Overlay District regulations. This project will be served by Hillsborough County Water and Sewer. To summarize some of the findings, staff has found the request to be compatible with the nearby development patterns. The Planning Commission has found the proposed development to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. There are no objections from any of the reviewing agencies, and staff has found this request approvable. With that, I conclude the presentation and respectfully request any recommendation for approval, and I'm here for any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. I've reviewed the file and I understand your request, and I have no questions for you. Thank you. Be sure and sign in with the clerk right over here.
Good evening. Carolyn Peddle, Development Services. Standard rezoning 240877. The applicant requests to rezone the property from RSC6 MH to RMC6 for proposed subdivision. The surrounding properties south of the PD 190093 boundary and west of Adena Street have a future land use designation of R6, while the properties to the north and east have a designation of WVR2. The site is located on the corner of Railroad Street and Bassa Street in an area which is comprised of mobile homes, single-family detached, and multifamily residential uses of various lot sizes. The adjacent properties to the east, south, and west are zoned RC6 MH, while the property to the north is zoned PD with approved for a maximum of 674 single-family detached units. Additionally, the standard rezoning will not allow non-compliance with the overlay requirements of Waimama Downtown Subdistrict B and Downtown Center. The overlay district was created to encourage a walkable downtown with small town character. The project will be required to meet height, setback, and buffer and screening requirements, which within the overlay district, which address compatibility with the surrounding residential uses. Where multifamily uses are adjacent to single-family uses, an additional setback of 2 feet for every 1 foot over 20 feet of building height shall be required to provide increased privacy for single-family homes. The project must also meet additional parking requirements to reduce the visual impact from the right-of-way. Based on the previous considerations, staff find the proposed RMC6 zoning district compatible with the existing zoning districts and development pattern in the area. Therefore, we found it approvable.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Planning Commission.
Thank you. David Hay again with your Planning Commission staff. The site is located within the Residential 6 future land use category. It falls within the urban service area and also falls within the boundaries of the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan and the Waimama Village Community Plan. The site, again, is within that Residential 6 future land use category. The Residential 6 category allows for the consideration of residential, suburban scale, neighborhood commercial, office uses, multi-purpose projects, mixed-use developments. As the language states in the report, residential is allowed. Therefore, it meets FLU Objective 7, FLU Objective 8, and each of their respective policies. Proposal meets the intent of FLU Objective 16 and its accompanying policies 16.1 through 16.3, 16.5, and 16.10 that require new development to be compatible to the surrounding neighborhood. Goal 12 and Objective 12-1 of the community design component of the future land use element require new developments to recognize the existing community and be designed to relate to and be compatible with the predominant character of the surrounding area. In this case, the surrounding land use pattern is mostly single family. Therefore, the proposed residential use will complement the surrounding area and meets the intent of FLU Objective 16 and its accompanying policies. The site is within the limits of that South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan and the Waimama Village Community Plan. Goal 1 under the cultural historic objective of the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Community Plan promotes sustainable growth and development that is clustered and well-planned to preserve the area's environment, cultural identity, and livability. Goal 5 of the Waimama Village Community Plan encourages housing options to accommodate a diverse population and at a range of income levels. Proposed rezoning from RSC 6 to RMC 6 would complement the surrounding area and provide a different housing option for the community. Overall, staff finds that the proposed use is an allowable use in the Residential 6 future land use category, is compatible with the existing development pattern found within that surrounding area, and does support the vision of the South Shore Area-Wide Systems and Waimama Community Plans. The proposed rezoning would allow for development that is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the future land use element of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. So based on those considerations and the goals, objectives, and policies listed within the submitted staff report, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed rezoning consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? Don't hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, do not hear anyone. Development Services, anything further?
Nothing further, ma'am.
All right, and applicant, did you have anything further you wish to add?
Jessica Cole, for the record, we have nothing further. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. This closes the hearing on rezoning standard 24-0877.
Our next item is item C4, standard rezoning 24-0918. The applicant is requesting to rezone property from RSC 4 to RSC 6 with restrictions. Michelle Montalbano with Development Services will provide staff findings after the applicant's presentation.
Good evening, Madam Hearing Officer. Brian Ongst, McFarlane Ferguson McMullen, 201 North Franklin Street, Tampa, Florida, 33602. On behalf of the applicant, I'm going to utilize the overhead, if that's all right, to show you the project area. Your Honor, this is a standard rezoning application to rezone a property from RSC 4 to RSC 6 restricted. The restriction is to limit the density to 4 dwelling units per acre, which is consistent with the current future land use of residential 4. And it's also consistent with the current zoning of RSC 4. Your Honor, practically speaking, this is simply to rezone the property with restrictions as to the allowable density to allow for lot sizes of 7,000 square feet minimum, where under the current RSC 4 zoning, the minimum is 10,000 square feet. So essentially, this will not impact the density at all, simply reduces the minimum allowable lot size by 3,000 square feet. The staff did review this thoroughly as always, and there have been no objections from any of the reviewing agencies. The planning staff found it approvable and consistent with the comprehensive plan, and the Planning Commission also found it consistent with the Greater Carrollwood-Northdale Community Plan. They note that that plan states that one of its goals is to continue to protect and maintain its suburban lifestyle while also maintaining individual neighborhood characteristics. By utilizing the subject parcel for residential use in lieu of commercial uses, the proposed zoning meets the intent of the Greater Carrollwood-Northdale Livable Communities element. The Livable Communities element also states that new development and redevelopment shall use compatibility design techniques to ensure the appearance, mass, and scale of development is integrated with the existing suburban nature of each neighborhood. The restriction added to the proposed rezoning to maintain 4 dwelling units per gross acre further supports the vision of the Greater Carrollwood-Northdale Community Plan. Your Honor, so we feel this is a very straightforward and supportable application. I did receive a phone call from an adjacent property owner today, was able to provide them the staff report via email, explain to them the very limited nature of this rezoning application. Simply, Your Honor, it allows for the building of 11 dwelling units where 11 dwelling units are already allowed. And so I understand that you fully understand the application, and that person that I communicated with did not seem to have any concerns. I'm not sure if they're here tonight, but it seemed like they were satisfied with my explanation. Of course, a zoning that's restricted to the allowable density is compatible, I think, objectively. And I think that it's also compatible with the hundreds of single-family homes that are either R4 zoned or R6 zoned that are immediately adjacent to the east, north, south, and west. Your Honor, that concludes my presentation. Unless you have any other questions, I do have development team members here that can answer questions if you have any.
All right, I reviewed the case and I understand your request. I don't have any questions for you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Be sure and sign
Could
in.
you sign in, please?
Good evening, Michelle Multimodal Development Services. The applicant is requesting to rezone approximately 2.75 acres of land from RSC 4 to RSC 6 with restrictions. The proposed restriction is to limit development to 4 dwelling units per acre in order to match the R4 future land use designation. The RSC 6-4 request is to allow for smaller lot sizes. RSC 6 zoning district allows for a minimum lot size of 7,000 square feet, whereas the RSC 4 district limits the lot size to 10,000 square feet. Based on pre-development approximation, this would allow for a maximum of 11 dwelling units. The property is located in a residential area of Carrollwood. Surrounding the site are hundreds of single-family homes zoned either RSC 4 or RSC 6. Therefore, the RSC 6 restricted rezoning request will allow for residential development compatible with the uses, zoning districts, and development pattern of the surrounding area. Staff finds the request supportable. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Planning Commission?
Thank you. David Hagan with your Planning Commission staff. The site is located within the residential 4 future land use category. It does fall within the urban service area and is also located within the boundaries of the Greater Carrollwood-Northdale Community Plan. The subject site is located within that urban service area. So according to Objective 1 of the future land use element, we anticipate roughly 80% of the growth that our county is experiencing to be directed into that urban service area. So this would support that objective. Goal 12 and Objective 12-1 of the community design component of the future land use element require new developments to recognize the existing community and be designed to relate to and be compatible with the predominant character of the surrounding area. In this case, the surrounding land use pattern is single family. The proposed rezoning will complement the surrounding area. The applicant did a very good job in summarizing staff's findings regarding the Greater Carrollwood Northdale Community Plan, so I won't go through that again, but overall, Planning Commission staff did find that the request is consistent with that Greater Carrollwood Northdale Community Plan. Overall, staff finds the proposed use is an allowable use in the residential 4 future land use category. It is compatible with the existing development pattern found within the surrounding area and does support the vision of the Greater Carrollwood Northdale Community Plan. Proposed rezoning would allow for development that is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the future land use element of unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. So based on those considerations and the goals, objectives, and policies submitted in the Planning Commission staff report, the staff does find that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the unincorporated county Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan, subject to any restrictions proposed by Development Services. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? All right, not hearing anyone. Is there anyone here or online? Okay, are you speaking in support or opposition? Okay. Okay. Is there anyone here or online then who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? Please come forward now. Thank you. And be sure and state your name and address first.
Susan Harris, 1222 Leisure Avenue. I'm the adjoining 2 lots to the the west of the property, subject property. I just have some basic things, like as far as proposed buffer. What do they plan to do? Will there be a block wall surrounding it, or what? I mean, on my side, on my piece of property, I will have 7 houses up against my property, and I have none now. So I just wondered if anything is proposed for a buffer. And also, I'm concerned with, unless this has been updated from what I found online, the concept plan, it shows townhouses. Is that what these are called, townhouses, because of the type of community, or are they just the normal single-family homes, or has this all been updated and I don't have accurate information?
All right, I'll have the applicant address your questions. Do you have further?
I have a couple more, I'm sorry, they're all
That's fine.
simple.
Would you go ahead and state them?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Also, it's showing that the use now is 4 houses per acre, so that's almost 1,100 square foot, and they're talking about going down to 7,000. And it's 2.76 acres. I'm getting 11 houses, and that's what everybody's saying here, but again, referring back to this, it shows 12 lots. So just wondering about that. And I guess the townhouse question, and will they be 2-story houses, or are they single-story? Trying to figure out a height, because they're all 7 houses going to be hanging over my backyard or my side yard.
All right, thank you. And is that all your questions?
That's it. I had
Okay.
another neighbor had said to ask about the plans for Leisure Avenue, if there's anything, and I'm sure there's not, but anything to update it or something to support the extra traffic, because we already have a big mess there. When Fletcher or Bears are, for some reason, backed up, stopped, that's where they route the traffic through, is down Rome to Leisure, so it's already crowded, so. that's
Okay.
it.
All right, thank you very much. And please sign in with the clerk before you sit down. Thank you. All right, is there anyone else here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, I don't hear anyone. All right, Development Services, and maybe Development Services could respond to some of those questions, and if you wish, or I'll have the applicant address them, but she was asking about buffer, what buffer's required. The housing style, are these townhomes or single families? The lot size, the number of lots, and how many stories are allowed?
And is this accurate?
So the zoning district will only allow single-family detached homes. And I believe the height restriction is 35 feet in that district. And there's no buffer required, but the rear setback is 25 feet.
Okay, so then just to be clear, the setback is 25 feet. The housing style, it would be single-family, because multifamily or townhomes are not allowed in the zoning district, correct? And the maximum height is 35 feet. That would allow for 2 stories, is that correct?
Yes, that would. Yeah.
Okay. And I believe there was a question about the number of lots. As I recall, that was 11, wasn't that?
Yeah, the mathematical maximum is 11. There were some concept plans that were submitted that showed 12. I did let them know to switch that out, but site plans in these kind of rezonings are not regulatory, so even if it does show 12, that doesn't regulate anything.
All right, so the maximum number of lots under this rezoning would be 11.
Yeah, based on the acreage provided, yes.
And then the lot size, I believe that was 7,000
Yes.
square feet, right?
Yes.
Okay, I think that addresses all the questions that were raised.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Peddle. Applicant?
Thank you, Your Honor. Returning to the overhead, and just briefly to reiterate responses to the questions that were posed to Your Honor. The rear setback, as staff stated, is 25 feet minimum. The maximum height is 35 feet, and these will be single-family detached dwellings that will be no more than 2 stories. The concept plan, that is the operative concept plan, which again is not regulatory. This is not site plan approval, as you well know. This is meant simply to show a concept of how the lots could be laid out. Shows 11 lots between 7,600 square feet and 7,100 square feet. As Your Honor knows, when you have a 2.76 acre site at 4 units per acre and you have a 10,000 square foot lot minimum, that equates to about 0.22 acres plus per lot, which doesn't leave a whole lot of room for stormwater retention, utilities, sidewalks, the road. So simply, this is just a practical rezoning with restrictions to allow for the currently approved and planned for density to be developed consistent with the comprehensive plan and the Greater Carrollwood Northdale Community Plan, Your Honor. And any other issues related to screening and opaque walls and all those things will be addressed in the site plan process, Your Honor.
Okay, and then just to be clear, would you put that, that overhead back on? Thank you. So Leisure Avenue is to the left of the screen. And so all of the lots, they're facing inward to the public road that comes in the community. So in their rear yards, there's a 25-foot setback.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And I believe there's also a 25-foot front setback as well.
Okay. All right. Well, just for
the people adjacent, it's 25 feet. That's right, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you for that. Anything further?
No, thank you, ma'am.
All right. This closes the hearing on rezoning standard 24-0918.
Our next application is item D1, PD rezoning 24-0238. The applicant is requesting to rezone property currently zoned RMC9 to plain development. Tanya Chappella will provide staff findings after the applicant's presentation.
Good afternoon, respected zoning hearing master. My name is J.D. Al-Sabbar. I'm with Sycamore Engineering. My address is 8370 West Hillsborough Avenue, Suite 205, Tampa, Florida 33615, and I have already sworn. The subject PD application for today is 1.63 acre property located on the southwest corner of Temple Terrace Highway and Davis Road. It's city of Temple Terrace, but within Hillsborough County jurisdiction. The subject parcel has zoning of RMC 9 and future land use of community mixed use 12. We border to the north with Temple Terrace Highway, which is an arterial road, and to the east, Davis Road, listed as local road. To the south is existing recently completed veteran hospital, which is occupying about 19 acres or so, all the way further to the east. On the west side of our PD is an existing single-family home which had same future land use as our site. We are proposing 5,500 square foot of convenience store with a 12 fueling position gas station utilizing 2 right-in and right-out accesses plus cross-access to the future west partial upon redevelopment. We are requesting PD variance on section 6.06.06 to allow the shared cross-access. Also requesting waiver on LDC 6.11.30.b to allow 6-foot PVC fence in lieu of masonry wall, since already existing PVC fence surrounding the whole boundary between the single-family homes and the veteran hospital. Davis Road is substandard road, which we are requesting design exception to the improvement, but still providing southbound right turn lane. In addition, we are providing eastbound turn lane on Temple Terrace Highway. Mr. Williams, the county engineer, had found the 2 administrative variants to section 6.04.02.b to the required access location distant on Davis Road and Temple Terrace Highway from the intersection, plus the design exception, are approvable. We had reviewed the staff report, and we agree on the condition. I think except page 8, I would like to mention that the impact fee calculation show a 24 fueling position. It should be 12 fueling position, which means 18,422 multiplied by 12 will be 221,064 instead of 442,128. We have letter of support from the western neighbor, which we will add to the record. Nothing else to add, ready to answer a question.
I just want to make sure I understand the variations that are requested. I thought you said you're requesting a variance for cross-access.
That's, I think the staff report will add up into, because it's required, I think, screening across the west side, but we need to have a cross-access there.
Okay, all right, so that I did understand the variation to be buffering and screening.
Exactly.
So that's, okay. All right, thank you. I have
you.
no further questions for you. Be sure and sign in with the clerk.
Sir, can you come sign in?
Sir? Sign in with the clerk, please. Thank you.
Good evening. Tanya Chapela, Development Services. The existing zoning is RMC 9, residential multifamily, which permits a multifamily and residential uses. The applicant is proposing to rezone to planned development to allow a 5,500 square feet convenience store with a gas station. Staff finds the proposed request to be compatible with the existing commercial uses across Temple Terrace Highway to the north and the east along Davis Road, and with the existing medical offices development to the south. The proposed 0.08 FAR is under the 0.5 maximum FAR, which is allowable in the CMU 12 comprehensive plan category. Residential property is located to the west of the subject site. A 20-foot wide buffer with screening to consist of a 6-foot height fence and 10-foot height trees will be provided. This will be provided in lieu of a 6-foot height masonry wall and 6-foot high trees as required per the LDC section 61130B. Staff finds the proposed screening, type B, provides adequate visual separation between the uses utilizing the fence rather than the wall. The applicant will provide the tree planting heights required under type B screening rather than the 6-foot high trees required under the LDC section 61130B. The residence located to the west is approximately 60 feet from the subject site, which is 10 feet less than the minimum lot width for RMC 9 zone property. Given the location and future land use of the adjacent western parcel, redevelopment to a non-residential use is likely, and if redeveloped with a commercial use, no screening would be required. A shared access facility between the subject site and the western property is required per transportation staff in accordance with the Land Development Code. This will result in an area without buffering and screening in expectation of a future connection to the west when and if the western property redevelops to a non-residential use. So based on these considerations, staff finds the request is approvable. Therefore, staff recommends approval subject to conditions.
All right, thank you. Just a question for you, though. I need to clarify the waivers and variations requested. Of course, variations, PD variations require that the zoning hearing master make certain findings that are set out in the Land Development Code. So I need to understand whether both of these things listed here, in the staff report, it says PD variation to LDC section 60606. I understand that one. That one requires me to make certain findings. But the waiver to the Land Development Code, is that a different thing? Is the waiver something the BOCC requires and I don't make findings on? What's the difference there?
So there is this use which is being requested and is listed as part of the 611 conditional uses. So it has certain requirements for buffering and screening. So the applicant didn't want to do that, and instead he wanted to do something that was more a type B, like a regular buffer. So the way to do that, even though this is a PD, he needed that procedure as part of his application.
Okay. Am I required to make findings on that, or is that just up to the BOCC because it's a waiver? Okay. Maybe I can get some clarification on that. Thank you.
Yes. Sure. It's part of the PD application, so it would be appropriate for you to include that in your overall recommendation. It's called out because, as you know, for the PDs, those are to vary district standards. Previous zoning administrators have considered things in 611 as district standards. So it's highlighted just to show not only is it maybe not meeting standards found in the table, but perhaps also something in 611. Just as if like a setback for a front yard setback or
Okay, and these refer to the two items here, 60606 and 61130B, both refer to basically the same thing. It's that 6-foot high PVC fence instead of a wall, and also there's an additional area where there has to be the cross access. But so all of that is included in both of these things.
Yes, ma'am.
And I should make findings on both of those that are consistent with the Land Development Code for the report.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. No more questions for you, Mr. Pella. Thank you. All right, Planning Commission.
Thank you again, David Hay, Planning Commission staff. The site is located within the Community Mixed Use 12 Future Land Use category. It falls within the urban service area. Excuse me. It also falls within the boundaries of the East Lake Orient Park Community Plan. The proposed rezoning meets the intent of Objective 1 and Policy 1.4 of the Future Land Use element. FLU Policy 1.4 requires new development within the urban service area to be compatible with the surrounding area. Some elements affecting compatibility typically include height, scale, mass, bulk of structure, pedestrian and vehicular traffic, circulation, access and parking impacts, landscape, lighting, noise, odor, architecture, and other items. While there is an existing single-family residential home to the west, the applicant is providing the required buffering and screening, meeting the intent of FLU Policy 16.1, which requires buffering and screening areas between unlike land uses. Therefore, the proposed use is compatible with the surrounding area and is consistent with FLU Objective 1 and Policy 1.4. FLU Objective 8 and its associated policies establish that each future land use category shall be evaluated for its allowable range of uses, densities, and intensities. The subject site's future land use designation, again, is the Community Mixed Use 12, which has a maximum allowable floor area ratio of 0.5 or 38,115 square feet for the 1.75 acre subject site. The request is below that number, so the request is therefore consistent with Objective 8 and its associated policies. The applicant is also providing for both vehicular and pedestrian cross-access to the west, which is consistent with policy direction on providing multimodal connectivity between properties. Furthermore, the applicant is proposing to construct a 6-foot sidewalk along Temple Terrace Highway that will connect into the site's proposed internal sidewalk connection, consistent with policy direction in the mobility section, Goal 4, Policy 4.1.2, and Policy 6.3.5. The subject site is located directly adjacent to existing single-family residence to the west. FLU Objective 16 and Policy 16.5 require that the development of higher intensity non-residential land uses that are adjacent to established neighborhoods be restricted to collectors and arterials. Temple Terrace Highway is a county arterial roadway, and David Road is a county collector roadway. The subject site is an appropriate location for the proposed use based on the criteria established by FLU Objective 16 and Policy 16.5. Also, based on the submitted site plan, the Planning Commission staff did find that the site plan is consistent with Goal 9 and Goal 17 of the community design component. The subject site is within the limits of the East Lake Orient Park Community Plan. The community plan supports opportunities for business growth and new jobs. The proposed gas station is consistent with this goal and is therefore consistent with the livable communities element, which the community plans fall under. So based on those considerations and the goals, objectives, and policies contained within the submitted Planning Commission staff report, the staff of the Planning Commission does find the proposed plan development consistent with the unincorporated county comprehensive plan. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? All right, do not hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, do not hear anyone. Development Services, anything further?
No, ma'am.
All right. Applicant, anything further? All right, that's a no. This closes the hearing on rezoning PD 24-0238.
Our next item is item D2, PD rezoning 24-0579. The applicant is requesting to rezone property currently zoned RSC 9, AS1, and ASC1 to planned development. Chris Greenlenard with Development Services will provide staff findings after the applicant's presentation.
Thank you. Good evening. Isabel Albert with Half 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 900, representing the applicant. And I have a presentation for you. So here's a subject site. It is located near the area of Big Bend Road, I-75 and 301. More specifically, it is south of Cowley Road, east of Lincoln Road. It is also part of the Riverview Community Plan as well as the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. It's approximately 6.73 acres and is also located in the urban service area. More specifically, the site is surrounded by mostly residential development. There's a couple of planned development in the area that are approved with smaller lots. To the northeast, you have a larger development. I just showed a little corner over here, but it's over 600 dwelling units with all types of residential types. And to the west, you have the similar single-family homes. Between the west property line and the subject site, there is a 50-foot wide drainage ditch at that location. Current future land use is residential 6, and we will meet the minimum units or density for this site. And the current zoning, there's 3 zoning districts, which is AS1, ASC1, and a residential single-family 9 units to the acre with a mobile home overlay. And obviously, the request is for a planned development for 40 single-family units. And with that, it does meet the Riverview and South Shore Area Plan. It meets different policies of the comprehensive plan, including neighborhood protection, as well as meets the goal of the Riverview Community Plan that is located within the residential district. And further policies and objectives are found in the staff report in detail. Our main access is from the east. We have a pedestrian access on the north side, circled in green, and we also have a future cross access to the south that's required by the code in a darker purple. We applied for a design exception for Lincoln Road, which was found approvable by the county engineer, as well as variances to access distance requirement. And those are found in the conditions of approval of the staff report, the final conditions of approval, they're listed in there. But overall, the Planning Commission staff found the request consistent with the future land use element, as well as the Riverview and South Shore area-wide systems, the double M community plan. And Development Services did find the request approvable, subject to the conditions, and there are no objections from reviewing agencies, and as of today, when I looked in the file, there was no objections letters. And I'm here if you have any questions.
All right, I don't have any questions for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi.
Chris Graulinar, Development Services. Here to present PD 240579. The applicant proposes to rezone 3 parcels that total 6.73 acres from RSC 9, AS1, and ASC1 to PD to permit a single-family residential development of up to 40 units with a 40-foot wide minimum lot. The resulting density will be approximately 5.94 dwelling units per acre. The area consists of single-family residential. The subject property is designated residential 6 on the future land use map. The surrounding uses are similar to the request, single-family residential. Additionally, to the north, about 900 feet, there is a PD that contains a similar 120, there's a PD to the north that contains 121 single-family detached residential units that also offers a 40 feet in width, similar to this application. Therefore, the rezoning of the subject parcel from RSC 9, AS1, and ASC 1 to PD with a single-family residential use of up to 40 units with a 40-foot wide minimum lot would be consistent with the existing zoning pattern of the area. Based on the residential 6 future land use classification, the surrounding zoning and development pattern, and proposed uses for the planning development district, staff finds the request approvable, subject to proposed conditions. If any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
All right, no questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Planning Commission, please.
Thank you. David Hay again with your Planning Commission staff. The site is located within the residential 6 future land use category. It does fall within the urban service area and falls within the boundaries of both the Riverview Community Plan and the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. Under Objective 1, the urban service area, we're trying to direct 80% of our county's growth into the urban service area. This would be consistent with that goal. The proposed single-family residential development of up to 40 units is compatible with the surrounding area and, again, meets that the intent of Objective 1 and Policy 1.4, which requires the new development be compatible with its surrounding development pattern. The proposal meets the intent of the future land use element Objective 16 and its accompanying policies 16.1 through 16.3, 16.5, and 16.10 that require new development to be compatible to the surrounding neighborhood. Goal 12 and Objective 12.1 of the community design component of the FLU require new developments to recognize the existing community and be designed to relate to and be compatible with the predominant character of the surrounding area. In this case, the surrounding land use pattern is mostly single family. Therefore, the proposed residential use will complement the surrounding area and meets the intent of Flu Objective 16 and its accompanying policies. The site is within the limits of the Riverview and South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. Goal 2 of the Riverview Community Plan is to reflect the vision of Riverview using the Riverview District Concept Map, which illustrates the unique qualities and land uses related to distinct geographic areas identified as districts. The subject site is in the residential district, which encourages attractive residential development that complements the surrounding character and promotes housing diversity. Per the revised site plan that was uploaded into Optics on May 21st, 2024, there will be a pedestrian connection on Chapman's Ranch Road. Goal 4 of the Riverview Community Plan promotes pedestrian interconnectivity, and the Planning Commission staff has found the request consistent with that goal and the goal 5 of the transportation objective in the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Community Plan. That one also promotes pedestrian interconnectivity. Overall, staff finds the proposed use is an allowable use within the Res 6 future land use category, is compatible with the existing development pattern found within the surrounding area, and does support the visions of those community plans. Based upon those considerations and the goals, objectives, and policies that are contained within the submitted Planning Commission staff report, the Planning Commission staff does find the proposed plan development consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? Do not hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, do not hear anyone. Development Services, anything further?
No, ma'am.
All right. And applicant, anything further? No? Okay. All right, thank you. That closes the hearing on rezoning PD 24-0579.
Our next application is item D3, Major Mod 24-0674. The applicant is requesting a major modification at PD 04-0063. Sambal Development Services will provide staff findings after the applicant's presentation. And you should have received a revised staff report that corrects a typo in condition 2.2 and also makes a correction to the FAR.
Thank you. I did receive that staff report.
Good evening, David Smith, Director of Development and Zoning for Stearns Weaver Miller, representing the applicant. 401 East Jackson Street, Suite 2100, Tampa, Florida. The request before you tonight is, as staff has indicated, is a major modification to a plan development that was approved in 2004. This project, when approved originally, as you can see right here, it's let me start over again. We got a 6.22 major modification to a previously approved PD that was over 8.5 acres. So we're only modifying a portion of that previously approved PD. The property is located on College Avenue down in the Ruskin at the intersection of 15th and College Avenue. The zoning on the property, this zoning map indicates PD 040063. The modification is in purple. The existing furniture store is at the corner. The future land use is suburban mixed use 6. Which allows for the intensity and density at this intersection of these commercial uses, and it's located in the urban service area. So looking at the current use is mostly undeveloped. All of the area is undeveloped with respect to the major modification. The furniture store is at the corner. To our north, we have single family with some open storage. Immediately to our west is a large church campus and a CG zoned parcel, which is for a thrift store or food pantry associated with the church. Across College Avenue, there are mixed use properties that are and contain residential and commercial. And immediately to our east is a mobile home park and use, and also a taco stand, for lack of a better term. Let me go back. This is the existing, currently approved site plan. As you can see, the site was broken up into various parcels, A, B, C, and D. Parcel A is where the furniture store is currently located. Parcel B was on the back of the site. And what we're proposing is to take parcel B and basically only have two parcels, an A and a B. We're consolidating all the parcels into one a new parcel. And in that new parcel, we are proposing a plan that provides for a 40,000 square foot Goodwill retail store. And the use has been changed in the staff report to indicate it's shopper's goods and warehouse distribution. Warehouse distribution, kind of a misnomer, but as you know, the retail stores, they do have loading docks on the back for product to come in and some donations to go out. So that's what we're accounting for in the use description. So when we look at this major modification, as I said, we're consolidating B, C, and D into one larger parcel B. In consolidating this, we're only proposing a 40,000 square foot retail sales, shopper's goods, warehouse distribution use. And this encompasses an over 32,000 square foot, 32,500 square foot reduction in the current entitlements approved in this property. We've also included a restriction that in the 40,000 square feet, no more than 20,000 square feet of that building would be occupied by the retail store, and no more than 25,000 square feet in the warehouse distribution site. And that way, it gives us flexibility, but it's still 40,000 square feet total. We will have a drop-off donation lane on the east side of the site of the building.
Can I stop you 1 second?
Yes, ma'am.
No more than 20,000, okay.
Yeah, so it's 40,000 total.
Okay.
But no, they can't be made up of any more than 20,000 retail or
All right.
25,000 warehouse distribution.
I thought there was some fuzzy math, but I understand what you're saying. Thank you.
No, man, we had to work on that like 3 times to say it right. So the Goodwill store will have a drop-off drive-through on the eastern side. It's not really a drive-through, it's just a drop-off point. And it's consistent with the SMU future land use category, which permits non-residential uses, and the reduction in square footage actually goes to compatibility, which I'll be talking about shortly. So in looking at the comprehensive plan, the FAR proposed is less than the 0.25 allowed by the SMU 6. It is consistent with the uses that you would typically find in SMU 6 at intersections in these arterial corridors. The Ruskin Community Plan covers this site. Goal 7 of the Ruskin Community Plan established a strategy of commercial development along College to discourage strip commercial. And the property is commercial development that pre-existed the community plan. There is a policy in the community plan that we discussed with the Planning Commission, and I think is thoroughly discussed in their findings. But because of the reduction in this and the pre-existing nature of the approval, and we're reducing the intensity of the retail, it's not considered new retail, so therefore we're otherwise consistent with the Ruskin Community Plan. Looking at compatibility, Parcel B has been situated so that the actual building envelope is much further away from the northern property boundary and the eastern property boundary than the previously approved site plan. We've also placed there will be a stormwater plus a buffer plus the stormwater plus the parking area before you even get to the building. So it provides for a lot more protection to the property owners to the north, and likewise to the property owners on the east. And we have the 50-foot building setback, but effectively the building is located on that site plan over 140, 150 feet from the eastern property boundary. We're also proposing limited hours of operation, and before I forget, we found a typo in the zoning conditions that relate to the hours of operation. So in condition 13B, it says outside warehouse distribution activities such as truck arrivals, truck departures, loading and unloading are restricted to Monday through Sunday between the hours of 7 a.m. and 6. That should be Monday through Saturday, because the next condition says no outdoor activity related to loading dock is permitted at all on Sunday. So the hours of operation are correct. It's just that there was an overlap in the language. So if it would change Sunday in B to Saturday, that will make all the conditions consistent.
Okay, so just to be clear, condition 13B should be restricting those activities to Monday through Saturday.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
And so regarding compatibility, that is one of the things that we're also concerned about to offer up to make sure that any of the loading operations in the rear of the building were during reasonable hours, would not be operations through the total operations of the store, and those have been placed in the conditions to ensure compatibility as well. The project's reduced intensity, the building location, the increased setbacks, the restricted hours, narrowed uses results in a less potential negative impact on the neighboring properties. There are no variations requested with this application. The application maintains connectivity approved in the original PD, as well as providing connectivity and cross-access to the property to our east. There's no connectivity proposed to the north, since that's a residential lot and should not have direct connectivity to this commercial activity. Also, when we look at the development overall, we have 2 existing points of access on 15th Street. It's a 2-lane collector roadway with right-of-way of approximately 80 feet in width. The existing access points on 15th Street don't meet current minimum spacing. They're already constructed, but they don't meet current spacing. The county has confirmed an administrative variance to section 60407 is not required because it's less than 10% variation in that standard. Therefore, a formal administrative variation is not required. 15th Street is a substandard road since it does not meet the TS7 standards. Administrative variance has been filed and it's reflected in the zoning conditions and found approvable by the county engineer. This just shows where in red the 2 existing constructed access points, and in green generally the location of the access point that will be serving the PD. There was only 3 access before, there's only 3 access points now. Transportation infrastructure, again, FDOT is not requiring additional right-of-way or shared access improvements along College. The existing access points exceed the number of access points. The administrative variation has been filed for that and has been found approvable. Hart Transit serves the site from 15th Street Southeast, and the analysis provided by our transportation engineer demonstrates that the application reduces the approved trip generation of the PD, which one would expect when you're reducing over 30,000 square feet in the entitlements on site. In conclusion, Hillsborough County staff has recommended approval with conditions. Planning Commission has found it consistent with the comprehensive plan, and we respectfully request your recommendation to the board of approval for this project. We're here to answer any questions. The applicant representatives are here, as well as the consultant team.
Okay, I've reviewed the file and I understand your request and have no more questions. Thank you.
Good evening, Sam Ball with Hillsborough County Development Services. A revised report will be put into, will address that typo for the hours of operation. The applicant is requesting a major modification to PD 040063, which would reconfigure the general development plan and reduce the overall entitlements from 94,500 square feet to 62,000 square feet. The property is located approximately 1.25 miles east of US 41 at the northwest corner of East College Avenue and 15th Street Southeast intersection. The property covers 6.23 acres and is currently used as a plant nursery. An additional 2.21 acre portion of the PD is developed with a 22,000 square feet of retail use and that part is not being modified with this application. The property is located in the Ruskin Community Plan area. The primary uses in the area in the immediate vicinity include single-family and multifamily residential, retail, a church with child care facility, and several large properties in the area are undeveloped. If this application is approved, parcels B, C, and D would be consolidated into B as a single parcel, which would allow for up to 40,000 square feet of warehouse and distribution and retail shopper uses, which would be a 34% reduction in the overall entitlements and a 0.17 FAR. The approval would require, would restrict the hours of operation for the retail shoppers goods and inside warehouse uses from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 9 a.m. To 9 p.m. on Sundays. The applicant already discussed the outside activity hours of operation. The building structures would be restricted to the building envelopes that are shown on the general development plan, which would require them to be constructed at least 170 feet from the residential property to the north and at least 100 feet from the residential property to the east. A 20-foot type E landscape buffer would also be required along the north and east boundaries. If approved, the county engineer will also approve 2 administrative variances for substandard roadway improvements to 15th Street Southeast and to waive the limitation on the number of driveways permitted. The applicant is not requesting any additional waivers or variations. Based on the zoning and development pattern in the area, the restricted hours of operation, the site plan configuration in relation to the neighboring residential properties, as well as having frontage along a portion of College Avenue that's a 4-lane divided arterial with a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit, and a 34% reduction of the non-residential entitlements on a site that abuts residential side, 2 residential sides. Staff finds the proposed modification compatible and approval subject to conditions. That concludes my presentation. If you have any other questions.
No questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Planning Commission.
Good evening, David Hay again with your Planning Commission staff. The site is located within the Suburban Mixed Use 6 future land use category. It falls within the urban service area and is also located within the boundaries of the Ruskin and South Shore area-wide systems plan. For the 6.22 acre site, there is a 0.25 floor area ratio. That allows a maximum consideration of 67,735 square feet. Also, neighborhood serving commercial uses are allowed to be considered in that SMU 6 future land use category. Therefore, the requested modification is consistent with development permitted in that SMU 6 future land use category and meets Objective 8 and its associated policies. The site does not meet commercial locational criteria per future land use element policy 22.2, as the nearest qualifying intersection is located at College Avenue East, a 4-lane roadway, and 15th Street Southeast, a 2-lane roadway, which is approximately 315 feet away. A request to waive the CLC criteria per FLU policy 22.8 has been submitted. The major modification as filed has stated, which brings the approved development into greater compliance with plans and policies adopted after its approval. Planning Commission staff supports the CLC waiver request because the applicant is proposing increased setbacks to the north and east to mitigate negative impacts of the proposed use. The proposed modification reduces the intensity of uses and the amount of square footage previously approved. Planning Commission staff recommends that the Board of County Commissioners approve the commercial locational criteria waiver. The Ruskin Community Plan desires to locate commercial, office, and residential uses from the intersection of 21st Street and College Avenue to the eastern boundary of the community plan area, and the proposed general business, warehouse, and distribution uses are not within this area. The Ruskin Community Plan also promotes commercial development at a scale and design that reflects the character of the community. It is important to note that the existing PD was approved prior to the adoption of the Ruskin Community Plan. proposed major modification is requesting to modify the PD to allow for fewer entitlements that were previously approved for, thereby creating a less intense and more compatible use in this area. Overall, staff finds the proposed major modification is compatible with the existing development pattern found within the surrounding area, and it supports the vision of the Ruskin Community Plan and the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. Proposed plan development would allow for development that is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the future land use element of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. So based on those considerations and the goals, objectives, and policies contained within the submitted Planning Commission staff report, the staff does find the proposed plan development consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, subject to any conditions proposed by the Development Services Department. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? I do not hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, do not hear anyone. Development Services, anything further?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And applicant, anything further? Nothing further. Okay. That closes the hearing on major modification 24-0674.
Our next application is item D4, PD rezoning 24-0697. The applicant is requesting to rezone property that's currently zoned PD 190445 in AR to planned development. Chris Greenlenar with Development Services will provide staff findings after the applicant's presentation. And I also do have a revision to the previous revision I provided to you before the hearing, which I'd be happy to go over after the applicant and staff's presentation.
All right.
Good evening, Cammie Corbett with the law firm of Hill, Ward & Henderson, representing the applicant Eisenhower Property Group this evening. The subject property is located south of Big Bend Road and west of US 301, just south of Simmons Loop Road. That's the parcel in the red. As Michelle indicated, there is an approved site plan that has multiple pockets of development proposed with multiple options. We're not changing anything with respect to those existing pockets. However, we are adding approximately 14 acres, which is shown in green. Those are the properties that we are adding, and we are creating Pocket 4 and asking for an additional 28 units in Pocket 4. That's all pretty straightforward. The one issue that we have is that we are requesting to remove the pedestrian bridge that used to connect Pocket 3 to the south over to Pockets 1 and 2 and 4. And again, as I mentioned, we're leaving the existing development pockets the same. A little more detail on the internal connection. On the left-hand side is what is shown on the currently approved site plan, and you'll see that this pedestrian bridge going across Little Bullfrog Creek. And what we're proposing as an alternative is on the right-hand side, and we're proposing to come out of Pocket 3, going up the sidewalk on Gate Dancer Extension, which is under construction now, and then returning back into the development through the trail on the northern side of the PD. Frankly, we don't really think that this internal connection should be as significant as it is in the eyes of the Planning Commission, because I think if you look at the mixed-use plan policies, you'll see that we are interconnected as we are supposed to per the plan policy. However, Development Services staff did want us to provide some sort of connection to the school to the south, and that's why we're proposing this external condition. And at this time, I'd like to ask Steve Lutz, who is with the applicant and also a certified planner, to come up and testify with respect to the compatibility and consistency of the development and its existing interconnections.
Thank you, Cammie. Again, for the record, Steve Luce, Eisenhower Property Group, the applicant, 111 South Armenia, Tampa, Florida, 33609. And Madam Hearing Master, I got here a little late. I was not sworn in.
Raise your hand to be sworn in, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. Working from the graphic that's up on the screen, the existing development is a combination of an apartment complex, there's a row of townhouses, there's a pocket of single-family detached houses. The balance of the site is to be comprised of a pocket of townhouses, which are in the southwest corner of the site, which is on the west side of Little Bullfrog Creek. And the only way to get to that pocket will be a direct connection to the new Simmons Loop extension that goes south into the Belmont development. It's called Gate Dancer, so that's the only connection to that pod. The other connections will be, we will extend Gray Sweat Road from Simmons Loop south. About half of Gray Sweat Road was just constructed. We will complete the second half, the southern half of Gray Sweat, and it'll connect into this existing development. The pocket that's being added is at the sort of north midpoint of the project. It'll have access to Gray Sweat. It's about 5 to 6 acres in size, and their preliminary layouts are about 28 lots. Those are single-family detached lots. The existing approval has maximum and minimums per pocket, so that we've gotten to the point where the pocket that's on the southwest corner on the west side of Little Bullfrog Creek does not have enough townhome entitlements remaining. So of the 90 additional units that we're adding to this PD with this PD application, we don't need to increase the pod size of Pocket 3, but the additional units, about 60 of them, with this addition, will be transferred internally to Pocket 3, so we can make that track an approximate 172 lot layout for townhouses, which are allowed, and under the current approval right now, they get approximately 180 units there. So in total, what's existing and what's being added, a pocket of single-family detached homes, and allow us to build out the pocket at the southwest corner. It's single-family and townhomes, which are entirely consistent with the existing development pattern in this area of the county. It's compatible, it's consistent, and it'll fit in and be compatible with what's in the surrounding community. Now, with respect to the trail, and I think there are additional graphics. I just want to do a little deep dive on the access, compatibility from a connection point of view. And when we zoom out through our development, and I don't have a cursor, but Little Bullfrog Creek, you can kind of see it sweeps through from the northwest corner and diagonally comes out through the southeast portion of the site. And you can see where it sweeps all the way over to the east and sweeps all the way over to the west. And as you can see, when you go back 40,000 foot elevation, there are very few like cross-access point from local streets or pedestrian crossings. The only crossings of Little Bullfrog Creek are from major collectors and arterial roadways. So you also can see the greater connectivity of the SMU plan category between US 301, Big Bend Road, Simmons Loop Road, which is going south, and we agreed to extend Simmons Loop, Gate Dancer, further south and tie into the other Belmont development. So everything gets tied together. It's tied together with retail up on Big Bend Road, on 301. The connection will also provide access to the school that's in Belmont, just to the south. So you can see that everything is being interconnected. Just because one pod in the southwest corner of our PD is not specifically tied in, interconnected, the Planning Commission staff has found us inconsistent, but for that one issue, interconnectivity.
Can I stop you right there?
Yes.
So make sure I understand this. You are describing connections or connectivity.
Correct.
But with projects or developments that are really outside of this PD.
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
So there's connectivity with this whole community, surrounding community with this project, but
Right.
not this specific development within itself. So the policy language, and Ms. Corbett described what's being proposed. The applicant believes that it is consistent with the policy language.
Correct.
So the policy language, and I believe it's policy 19.2. 19.2, is that the one? So in the mixed use, there it is,
Yeah.
land use categories, when 2 or more uses are required on the same project, then the development shall be implemented through a zoning district that demonstrates street connectivity, description of uses, site placement, access locations, and internal connections at a minimum.
Right.
All right, so how is this proposal consistent with that language?
Okay, if I could go back to the zoning site plan. Yeah, even the graphic, the aerial. Okay,
The aerial
right
was
there.
helpful, yeah,
Right?
thank you.
So we have 2 or more land uses. The apartment complex qualifies as a second land use. And you can see these interconnectivities between these yellow circles. Those are cross-access points between the multifamily and the single-family detached housing subdivision.
And that's within this project?
Right, right. So I was trying to give testimony how we are. Lots of interconnectivity in the SMU6 plan category area. We also have interconnectivity between different land uses.
What are the blue circles?
That's the main access points out of the community.
Then Bullfrog Creek, and I see where it kind of bisects the subject property. It does sort of separate the property, the land uses. And so how does this project propose to connect the uses within this development to that, the areas west of Bullfrog Creek?
Sure. This graphic right here, the highlighted area in yellow on the left is where it currently shows the connectivity.
That was the pedestrian bridge.
Yes. Right. We've analyzed this with biologists and our engineers and found out that that crossing is about 1,000 feet long. It has to go through floodplain, floodway, and you have to do a no-rise study because of its location.
What's a no-rise study?
It means you can't, cup for cup, if you put in pillars for the boardwalk, you must compensate for it somewhere else.
I see.
Right. It got to be a very expensive stormwater analysis. It took 6 months to do it. We've tried to permit it through the county, and we've gotten stuck on the exact design of it. And we've also found out that it costs about $1.5 million to do.
Okay, so regardless of cost, is it doable? And if it's done, will it
We have the technology. It could be done.
Would it result in adverse environmental impacts, for example?
It would have adverse impacts on the environment. Okay. When we first thought of it, we had not done any engineering or design work yet. It was at the zoning stage. It was 10 years ago. I was a planner on the project. I thought we could easily do essentially in that grade crossing, maybe just for a very small segment, it'd have to have a little bridge. But, which in my mind, I've done kind of crushed shell, pedestrian trails, and they cost in the range of this distance, maybe $100,000. And when we start getting into all the studies that had to be done and how it needed to be elevated for almost 1,000 feet, and then we got the cost back, it was very expensive.
Okay, so then, in your professional opinion, is it not practicable or feasible to have this pedestrian bridge because of all the environmental adverse impacts, the cost, and just the feasibility for this?
Yes, based on all the analysis that we have done, in my professional opinion, it's not a practical solution to interconnecting these pods.
And then a related question, with the alternative accesses that actually go outside this development that are not internal, in your professional opinion, based on your experience with this and other projects, is that a sufficient alternative? Does it meet, I guess, the spirit of the policy or the intention of the policy?
Yes, in my professional opinion, analyzing the alternative alignment, it is an equal to or greater solution to the practical problem of crossing the creek.
Can you speak to why that is?
Well,
Not related to the bridge
be-
so much, but to the practical aspects of the
Yeah,
the access.
Sure, you can see the green line is where we propose to put the trail. That's uplands. It's not in the floodway or floodplain.
see.
It doesn't even cross the creek. It'll connect to Gate Dancer Road just north of the creek crossing. And there's a bridge that goes over Little Bullfrog Creek on Gate Dancer. And this is north of the bridge. So there's no creek crossing involved at all. And then once we get to Gate Dancer, the condition of approval as recommended by Development Services, we then take advantage of the bike lanes and the sidewalk that are on the east side of Gate Dancer. And so ideally, it's sort of morphed into getting folks that live in the apartment complex and in a single-family detached home area, that the kids can take their bikes or they can walk over to Gate Dancer and then take Gate Dancer South to get to the elementary school.
And about how far out of the actual development project does that take them?
From that western boundary, let me back up. The entire distance I've measured from where it starts at the east end over to Gate Dancer is about 1,500 feet. So that last piece outside the boundary of the zoning site, maybe 200-300 feet at most.
Okay.
I think, Cammie, I don't have the ability to move forward. You can help me out. I think we have a graphic that shows a zoom in of the crossing. It'll be there for your files and your consideration.
Okay. And then you can just proceed with, carry
Right
on
there.
with your thoughts. I just had to stop you there for a minute,
Yeah.
but thank you. For,
There's a blow up of from an environmental point of view.
Okay.
You can see the wetlands, the floodplain, the floodways, and how we are going to go along the north side and avoid those floodplain impacts and environmental impacts. Okay, and I think, you know, and correct me if you have any other questions, but I think I've addressed the compatibility issue and addressed the connectivity issue.
Yeah.
And that's all my testimony. If you have any questions of me, glad to answer them.
No, I think you addressed my questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Cammie Corbett again. I'd like to ask Steve Henry to make a comment about some of the roadway interconnectivity as well.
Okay.
Steve Henry, Langston Associates, 5023 West Laurel, Tampa, 33607. So one of the other things to consider when you're looking at this is, one, the amount of pedestrians going from a townhome project to a multifamily or single family would be insignificant as far as the number of people, because you're not going from townhomes to commercial or to school. You're going from single family to townhomes. But
Wow. Unless neighbors want to visit each
no,
other.
no, and absolutely, no, and I'm saying there certainly will be some of that, but it's very minor compared to the cost of having to build that bridge.
Okay.
But in addition, what this zoning is doing is it actually is connecting Grace Sweat Road, extending it down from Simmons Loop down to Creek Preserve, which that will allow for additional internalization of traffic that now can go to the commercial at the corner of Simmons Loop and 301 without ever having to get onto 301. So the reality is the changes to this, eliminating that bridge, but then also adding Grace Sweat, will have a bigger impact on the transportation system as far as decreasing the amount of traffic on the collector roadway system and providing sidewalk connection from our south up to Simmons Loop. Thank you.
Okay.
Could
Thank
you both
you.
come sign in, please?
So, Cammie Corbett again, just going back to the policies. Again, looking at the objective 19 is that all development in the mixed-use category shall be integrated and interconnected to the other. That's the overall objective, right? So that's why we were presenting testimony with respect to the external connections, because I think that's the overarching policy. And I think the aerial demonstrates that the plan has done a really good job of that. You see interconnections between schools and commercial and the residential. And then Mr. Lutz testified to the fact that the two land uses that are required are in fact internally interconnected. So we have two land uses being interconnected with those existing yellow connections that he showed. Those are internal connections. The blues are the external connections, just to answer your question a little more precisely. And so policy 19.2, it's sort of at the end, it says, and internal connections at a minimum. And so I think focusing on that internal connection as the sole way to comply with the comprehensive plan and for the sole way for a PD to be found compatible and consistent is inconsistent with the legal status of the plan, which talks about all of these things being reasonably applied where they're economically and environmentally feasible and consistent with the protection of private property rights. And it's improper to take one phrase or one policy and apply that in a vacuum. And Mr. Lutz testified about the environmental infeasibility of this pedestrian connection and also the economic infeasibility. So taking all of those things together, we think that there is support for providing this alternative connection instead of the pedestrian bridge that was in place.
And one more question about, I forgot to ask this, but
Sure.
You're taking basically a trail off-site and bringing it back in.
Yes.
Are there entitlements over there in those other private properties to do that?
Are there entitlements?
I mean, is there permission? Is there, that's somebody else's property?
Right. I believe that we are required to provide some kind of evidence to the county at site development that we are allowed to cross those properties, and we do believe that we'll be able to do that.
Yeah, that's my question. Will
Yeah.
those property owners allow that?
Yes, those properties were conveyed to another home builder who's aware of the application and is familiar with this site. And so that is why we were proposing that as an alternative. And going up that sidewalk, which is actually probably somewhat safer and a little less prone to nuisance as a pedestrian bridge sort of isolated in the middle of a wetland. At least we've got folks on a regulated sidewalk. And I also underlined this from the staff, and staff's policy direction says the policy direction means the site plan demonstrates detailed internal relationships and pedestrian integration amongst the uses. That's not in the plan. And staff is using that as the basis for their analysis and rejection of our proposed alternative. And I just want to point out that that is not plan policy language. And then lastly, if you look at the Planning Commission staff report, you'll see all of the various reasons that this proposed development is consistent and compatible with the comprehensive plan, including the Riverview Community Plan and the South Shore Community Plan. So really, when it comes down to it, the only thing is at issue is, are we providing that very impractical and infeasible pedestrian connection across Little Bullfrog Creek, or are we otherwise satisfying that requirement through our proposed alternative? And so we'd respectfully request your approval based on the alternative connection and development services staff report. And as Michelle indicated, we do have two slight wording of conditions. I think it's 25.3 and condition 26, where they're just slight revisions that have been discussed with staff. And if Michelle, you just want to read those into the record. Or
Yeah, I have those, and I believe staff is going to address those.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. Chris Groundlenard again, Development Services. The applicant proposes, here to present application 24-0697. The applicant proposes to integrate the existing PD 19-0445 with the AR zone parcels into a new PD district containing 4 development pockets within the broader PD, with 3 development options for each pocket and no more than a total of 713 dwelling units. Pocket 3 will be modified from 180 single-family detached or attached units to 172 single-family attached or detached units, and a new Pocket 4 will be added for a maximum of 28 single-family units. Pocket 1 includes options for either 0.23 FAR of commercial retail uses, 295 multifamily units or agricultural uses, or 440 multifamily or single-family detached uses. Pocket 2 allows 140 single-family detached units. The density will be a maximum of 6 dwelling units per the future land use. Approximate 121.7 acre property contains 156 parcels. 154 are zoned PD 19-0445. 2 are zoned AR, agricultural rural. The area consists of single-family residential and agricultural. The PD is approved for retail, commercial, multifamily, single-family attached, and single-family detached uses, and each development option will result in 2 or more uses occurring within the overall PD. The PD has already developed Pocket 1 with multifamily and single-family attached, and Pocket 2 with single-family detached, providing 3 horizontally connected uses. These pockets are horizontally integrated. Pocket 3 is separated from the other pockets by Little Bullfrog Creek, which does not provide an opportunity for vehicular connection. Pedestrian access between Pockets 2 and 3 can occur as approved in PD 19-0445, which would be within Little Bullfrog Creek. Pedestrian access may also occur between Pockets 4 and 3 using the sidewalk, which will be a part of the Gate Dancer Road right-of-way extension. Under this option, the connection will be located to the west of the western PD boundary rather than within the PD, as discussed. The pedestrian area would be within the same general location and utilize existing infrastructure with no environmental impacts. The subject property is designated Suburban Mixed Use, SMU6, on the future land use map. The Planning Commission finds the proposed use inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. The surrounding uses are similar to the request, single-family residential. Therefore, the rezoning of the subject parcel from AR and PD to PD with a single-family residential use of up to 713 dwelling units would be consistent with the existing zoning pattern of the area. Based on this SMU6 future land use classification, the surrounding zoning and development pattern, and the proposed uses for the planned development district, staff finds the request approvable subject to the proposed conditions. That concludes my staff report. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
You didn't address the proposed revised conditions 25.3 and 26. Do we need to, read those into the record?
Yes, I received them rather than Chris, which is why I need to read that into the record.
Thank you.
It's just some very minor changes, and those have been furnished to the clerk's office and will be in a revised staff report available tomorrow. And those are condition 25.3 with the initial plan submittal for development of Pocket 4. The county will contact FDOT to make them aware of the development. That is all that's going to be in 25.3.
Was there 1 to 26?
Yes.
Okay.
For 26, the majority of this will be remaining, which I'll read into the record. As depicted on the PD site plan, a pedestrian and bicycle trail connection between Grace Sweat Road and Pocket 4 via Gate Dancer Road shall be constructed by the developer. The trail shall be a minimum 10-foot wide Americans with Disabilities parentheses ADA compliant surface, except where there is a separate bike lane located along the route, comma, a 5-foot wide sidewalk will suffice. And a new sentence to that condition will read, in the event that it is determined that the trail is not required to be ADA compliant, it shall be constructed with a durable and dustless surface.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Planning Commission.
Good evening. David Hay again with your Planning Commission staff. The subject site is located within the Suburban Mixed Use 6 future land use category. It falls within the urban service area. It falls within the boundaries of the Riverview Community Plan and the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. Since the subject site has that classification of Suburban Mixed Use 6, that category allows consideration of residential, suburban scale, neighborhood commercial, office uses, research, corporate, park uses, light industrial, multi-purpose, and clustered residential and or mixed use projects at appropriate locations. The subject site, again, is located within the urban service area, and according to Objective 1 of the future land use element, 80% of the county's growth is to be directed into the urban service area. Future land use element policy 1.4 requires all new developments to be compatible with the surrounding area, noting that compatibility does not mean the same as, rather it refers to the sensitivity of development proposals in maintaining the character of existing development. The proposed PD with the 3 development options, including multifamily, single-family detached, or attached units, and commercial, is compatible with the existing single-family residential character of the surrounding area. The proposal meets the intent of the neighborhood protection policies under FLU Objective 16, which require new development to be compatible to the surrounding neighborhood. Goal 12 and Objective 12-1 of the community design component of the future land use element require new developments to recognize the existing community and be designed to relate to and be compatible with the predominant character of the surrounding area. In this case, the surrounding land use pattern is mostly residential. The proposed development option in the plan development will complement the surrounding area. With a total of 121.7 gross acres, up to 730 dwelling units may be considered. The proposed density of 713 dwelling units is under the maximum that may be considered in the suburban mixed-use 6 future land use category, and is therefore consistent with the density that is expected in this category. The Environmental Protection Commission Wetlands Division has reviewed the proposed plan development, given that there is a separate approval process for wetland impacts with the Environmental Protection Commission, and they currently do not object. Planning Commission staff finds this request consistent with Objective 13 and associated policies in the FLU, and Objective 3.5 and associated policies in the Environmental and Sustainability section of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. In Option A, the applicant is proposing commercial uses in Pocket 1, which is the area along US Highway 301. The site does not meet commercial locational criteria, with the nearest qualifying intersection being located at Baum Road and US Highway 301, approximately 1,500 feet away. Future Land Use Element Policy 22.7 outlines that this is not the only factor to be considered when evaluating non-residential uses. Even though the proposed retail in Option A is not located at the commercial node of a major roadway intersection, proposed use is compatible with the surrounding land uses and is consistent with the suburban mixed-use 6 future land use category, which promotes mixed-use development. In addition, adding another distinct use beyond the proposed residential uses furthers the intent of mixed-use future land use element policy 19.1, which requires all new larger mixed-use projects in mixed-use plan categories to develop with a minimum of 2 distinct land uses. Therefore, Planning Commission staff supports a waiver to commercial locational criteria and recommends the Board of County Commissioners grant a waiver as per policy 22.8 of the future land use element. In all options, the pedestrian connection is proposed from the Grace Sweet Road extension to Gate Dancer. The proposed connection is in lieu of a pedestrian bridge connection that was previously proposed across Little Bullfrog Creek in PD 19-0445 and was integral in Planning Commission staff consistency finding at that time. Furthermore, PRS 20-0388 requested to remove the pedestrian bridge connection from Pod 3 was found inconsistent by Planning Commission staff then and was subsequently denied by the Board of County Commissioners.
Mr. Hay, can I ask you a question about that? In PRS 20-0388, was it just the pedestrian bridge? Was that the only change there? And also, were there alternatives provided, as in this plan today, that there's an alternative route? It goes outside the development, but it connects. Were there alternative plans in that one to connect?
That I'm not aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Where was it? Let's see. Objective 19 in the future land use element requires that all developments in mixed use categories be integrated and interconnected. FLU policy 19.2 specifies that when multiple uses are included in a project, the development must be implemented through a zoning district that ensures street connectivity, detailed land use descriptions, site placement, access locations, and internal connections. Per this policy direction, rezonings must be approved through a site plan controlled zoning district in which the site plan demonstrates detailed internal relationships and pedestrian integration among uses. The applicant's narrative reveals that the development only provides pedestrian connections to Gate Dancer Road along the western boundary, lacking internal connectivity to Pod 3. Consequently, the proposed development is inconsistent with FLU Objective 19 and Policy 19.2. Though the off-site connection to Pod 3 to the west of the PD supports general connectivity policies in the comprehensive plan, FLU Objective 19 and Policy 19.2 specifically require connectivity internal to the site. Without the internal connection to Pod 3 within the site plan, the request does not meet this policy direction. The site is also located in the Riverview Community Plan within the Highway 301 corridor area. Staff found the request is meeting the intent of Goals 1 and 2 of the Riverview Community Plan, which is located in the livable communities element of the comprehensive plan. The South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan vision states that compatibility and interconnectivity of various systems among individual community efforts should be supported. The plan development meets the intent of this aspect of the South Shore Communities vision by ensuring Pocket 4 will have connection to Grace Sweat Road, which promotes cross connectivity. Based upon those considerations and the goals, objectives, and policies submitted within the Planning Commission staff report, the Planning Commission staff does find the proposed plan development is inconsistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Hay, so from this report, it seems that overall the request does meet the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan, except for 19 and 19.2. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? I do not hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right. Do not hear anyone. Development Services, anything further?
No, ma'am.
All right. And applicant. And applicant, are you aware, or could you answer the question I had from Mr. Hay about PRS 20-0388?
Yes,
Okay.
Cammie Corbett for the record.
Thank you.
An alternative was not proposed, and if you look at what's on the screen, the green is what we're adding. You can see the property line, the northern boundary of the property line on the west used to stop at Little Bullfrog Creek, so we didn't have the opportunity to have the connection trail that we're talking about. It's that by virtue of adding in the green parcel as part of this modification, we are able to offer that alternative that wasn't previously available. And so there were other items that they were requesting. I didn't handle that PRS, but I did review the transcript. There were, I think, 4 things they were asking for, and the one thing that they were asking for was to remove the bridge. Was not approved by the board at the time. I think a lot of the discussion at that time was on the economic feasibility, and I don't think that there was a lot of discussion about whether or not it really even should have been required per the policies and whether that was the appropriate interpretation by the Planning Commission. And that is something we've talked about today. But as you stated, more importantly, we are now proposing an alternative. We're not just asking for it to be removed. We're proposing an alternative to make that connection. And so here to answer any other questions you might have. I did put into the record 2 of the reports, the FDOT costs with respect to supporting the cost of the bridge that we put in here. And then Ardura in 2020 prepared a technical analysis of why it was environmentally and economically infeasible, and that's going to be in the record for your review as well.
Okay, you're putting that in the record today?
Yes,
All right.
It is on my thumb drive.
Thank you for that, and thank you for addressing the question I had for Mr. Hay. All right, this closes the hearing on rezoning PD 24-0697. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll be back in session at 8:35. right, we are reconvening. This is the August 19, 2024 zoning hearing master meeting, and I believe we're ready to hear the next case.
Our next item is item D5, Major Mod 24-0784. The applicant is requesting a major modification to PD 22-0439. Carol Ann Peddle with Development Services will provide staff findings after the applicant's presentation.
Is this on? Okay, thank you. I was going to say that I'm never that quiet, so I was wondering if something was had to be happening. David Smith, 401 East Jackson Street, Suite 2100, Director of Development and Zoning for Stearns Weaver Miller for the applicant, Bel Air Development. This is a major modification, as staff has indicated, to a previously approved PD in the Citrus Park area of Hillsborough County. This is located on Gun Highway, just to the east. Well, it's hard to say on this map because Gun Highway is two different sides, but it's to the north of Gun Highway that runs east-west, and it's to the east of Gun Highway that runs north-south. Zoning is Citrus Park Village, G6, and the future land use is also the Citrus Park Village land use category. The site depicted on the aerial is currently vacant, surrounded by Publix to the north, a Walgreens, various retail uses, Victory Charter School and We Care is across Gun Highway to the south. There's a bank directly to the east, and their Sickles High School is all the way across Gun Highway to the west. The current site plan approved for the property is an automatic car wash. The automatic car wash was, again, the original approval. As you can see, it had emergency access to Gun Highway, and its principal access to the site for ingress and egress purposes was through the shopping center. The proposed site plan essentially keeps all the access points from the shopping center, eliminates the emergency access point on Gun Highway, reconfigures the site to place a bank or financial institution with a ATM drive-through on the back side or the north side of the development. So looking at this request specifically, we have this major modification. It's because we're changing the use from the specifically approved use, and we're coming up with a new use. The design of the project is to further the Citrus Park Village Plan vision within the site's constraints. A banquet use with ATM is consistent with the original G6 Citrus Park overlay designation, which allowed for commercial neighborhood uses. The only reason we did a PD before is because of the nature of the site. It's a very narrow site. Access is limited. You cannot have direct access to Gun Highway given the road characteristics. So the consistency with the goals and strategies, Citrus Park's Village Plan was drafted to achieve a well-balanced variety of residential, recreational, commercial, and public uses. Subcategory G of land use allows commercial development as well as office and residential uses at a maximum FAR of non-residential 4.25. The applicant is requesting this commercial use that will not alter the layout or character of the area. The surrounding areas are replete with commercial uses and PD zone projects along the Gun Highway corridor. The proposed FAR is 0.12, which is well within the FAR maximum allowed in the category. When we look at the project, you have to meet, the PDs can have to meet the criteria to the greatest degree practicable as stated in the regulations. When we look at the compatibility or consistency, we're meeting the maximum setback, the Bill 2 line with this new site plan. Buffering screening is all consistent with the requirements. I won't go through every one of these because it's late at night, but essentially we're meeting all of the criteria but for one. And I'll tell you which one that is shortly. The elevations are shown here. They meet the transparency requirements and the architectural fenestration of the buildings to comply with the design standards of the overlay regulations. And because of the narrow and regular shape of the lot, the Citrus Park LDC requirement relative to block pattern cannot be met. Obviously, there are no other public streets connecting this. There's a shopping center to our north, Gun Highway to our south. So this is the only requirement that cannot be met or is not being met by this particular proposal. Staff found the justifications for not meeting this requirement to be reasonable. Staff also evaluated the Citrus Park Village requirements and explanations provided by the applicant to determine that the elevations submitted meet the design requirements of the overlay with the exception of the block pattern. Again, I'm repeating myself a little bit there. Transportation connectivity, there had been administrative variances previously approved. These have been reapplied and reinstated, carried forward to this approval, and they've both been previously found approvable by the county engineer. This development reduces the impacts of the previously approved project, generates overall less trips than the car wash. The access points do not change whatsoever. Existing access points to the shopping center on Gun Highway east-west, Gun Highway north-south, all remain the same. And we have easement rights as previously demonstrated in the original approval to utilize that main access point and enter through the shopping center to our north. In conclusion, Hillsborough County staff has found this and recommended approval with conditions. Planning Commission staff found the project consistent with the Hillsborough County Comp Plan, and we would request your recommendation of approval to the board. Here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. I have no questions for you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Carol Ann Peddle, Development Services. This is major modification 240784. The applicant is requesting a major modification to the previously approved Plan Development 220439 to permit a financial institution with drive-through ATMs. PD 220439 was approved in 2022, limited to an automated car wash facility, subject to standards of LDC Section 611. 121 for car wash facilities with a maximum building size of 6,445 square feet. The applicant requests a waiver to LDC Section 310-0601 for block pattern in the Citrus Park Village Overlay District, which was provided to the current PD. The vacant subject parcel is located on the north side of Gun Highway near the intersection of Sheldon Road in the Citrus Park Village Overlay area east of Sickles High School. The immediate surroundings of the property consist of commercial and retail uses. The site is located adjacent to an existing shopping center that includes outparcels for financial institutions, a drugstore, and offices. There are retail uses located to the south across Gun Highway. Additionally, there are residential uses located to the south, east, and north in the vicinity of this parcel. The project will be limited to a financial institution with drive-through ATMs at 3,100 square feet in size with associated parking for customers. The site proposes access connection from private driveway in the shopping center site north with a one-way entrance for the east side, from the east side of the site to access the ATMs and two accesses towards the west side of the site. Pedestrian-only access is proposed to connect direct access to Gun Highway. The proposed elevation submitted on August 7th, 2024 meets the requirements of Citrus Park Overlay District with exception to that block pattern requirement. The property has a future land use designation of Citrus Park Village with a sub-area category G. Based on the future land use classification, surrounding zoning and development patterns and proposed use, staff finds the request proposable subject to proposed conditions. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And Planning Commission.
Good evening again. David Hay with your Planning Commission staff. The subject site is located within the Citrus Park Village sub-area G. It is located within the urban service area and kind of obvious by the land use category. It falls within the boundaries of the Citrus Park Village. community plan. With that, under that sub-area G, the intent of that sub-area is to recognize existing development within the sub-area. The sub-area will allow for commercial, office, and residential land uses, or a mixture of these uses. Sub-area G allows for maximum non-residential intensity of up to 0.25 FAR, and the rezoning is proposing a floor area ratio of 0.12, therefore consistent with the intensity requirement. While both bank and car wash uses would be allowed uses within the Citrus Park Village subcategory G, the prior planned development was drafted and designed very specifically to not only allow just a drive-through car wash, but only a branded particular car wash. So this would remove that requirement. As part of the major modification application, the applicant removed the gated emergency egress access to Gun Highway. There will no longer be any proposed access to Gun Highway and will now only be accessible through the multi-tenant shopping plaza to the north of the subject site. This will allow fewer access points throughout a county collector and will encourage safety and efficiency by utilizing existing access to the subject site. Objective 16 and its accompanying policies in the future land use element require that new development protect established neighborhoods and be compatible with the development patterns of the surrounding area. The proposed site plan shows the building located at the build-to line on the street frontage and landscape buffers on all four sides of the property. Therefore, it is compatible with the existing development pattern and is consistent with future land use element objective 16. Planning Commission staff also found the proposal would be compatible with the existing character of the surrounding area and therefore is consistent with Goal 12 of the community design component. The intent of the Citrus Park Village Community Plan is to ensure the development of a well-balanced, vital, pedestrian-oriented traditional village that can support a variety of residential, commercial, office, and civic uses. The design regulations are specific for the Citrus Park Village community to ensure compatibility with the community plan and surrounding properties. The proposed commercial use meets many of the design requirements as is practical and within reason for the site, and therefore meets the intent of the Citrus Park Village Community Plan. Based on those considerations and the goals, objectives, and policies submitted, contained within your submitted Planning Commission report, the staff does find that the proposed plan development is consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? All right, don't hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, don't hear anyone. All right, Development Services, anything further?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And applicant, anything further? All right. This closes the hearing on, major modification 24-0784.
Our last application is item D6, Major Mod 24-0796. The applicant is requesting a major mod to PD 99-0277. I've reviewed this for Development Services, and I will present staff findings after the applicant's presentation.
Okay.
Hello, Bryce Pinson with Half Associates. I'm here representing the applicant, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 900, Tampa, Florida. I have a presentation. I don't know how to, thank you. All right, so this is major modification 24-0796. The site is located within Riverview, Florida, south of Camden Field Parkway, east of Falkenberg Road, west of Foxworth Road and US 301. It's approximately 13.32 acres within the Greater Palm River Community Plan and within the urban service area. The surrounding area is a mix of uses from commercial and office, light industrial, school uses, and also residential to the south. The future land use is urban mixed use 20, and the current zoning is PD. So first I'm just going to go into the overall PD. The subject area is actually the site outlined in red, which I'll zoom into on the next slide. But the overall PD is about 70.49 acres. It has 4 development options. It's divided into 5 lots approved for office, light industrial, retail, and school uses. It's approved for almost a total of 900,000 square feet or 0.29 FAR. The subject area is within lots 1 and 2. Lot 1 is currently vacant but approved for light industrial and office uses. Lot 2 is developed with a college of up to 900 students. The applicant is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and the request is to modify Development Plan 4, Lots 1 and 2, to add a temple, an accessory church meeting house, and a temple retail store. You can see here an image of one of their locations in Fort Lauderdale, just for reference. So the temple will seat up to 200 people. It's for members only, open Tuesday through Saturday. The church meeting house is open to the public, open Sunday and Tuesday and Wednesday evenings. And the temple retail store is just a smaller accessory used for the temple for church members to shop for books and clothing and such. So on the site plan here, the 2 yellow buildings show where the temple and the church meeting house will be. The little orange squares where the retail store will be. The little gray box is just a little maintenance enclosure. So the request for the 13-acre site is up to a 0.08 FAR. The overall PD is a request for a 0.25 FAR, which is a reduction from what's currently approved, and both are significantly below the permissible limit of 1.0 FAR under UMU 20. There is buffering and screening proposed to the south where the development abuts single-family residential. There's a 10-foot buffer with type A screening proposed, as well as a 50-foot building setback. Planning Commission also says in the report that this church use is a good transition from the single-family residential to the more intense commercial uses to the north. 2 accesses are proposed off Camden Field Parkway. You can see on the left, the current approved shows 3 different accesses, and so we're only requesting 2. And there's also a daily trip reduction of over 3,000 trips. Overall, Planning Commission staff found our request consistent. Development Services found the request approvable, and there's been no objections from reviewing agencies. And I'm here if you have any further questions.
All right, thank you. I have no questions for you.
Thank you.
Michelle Heinrich, Development Services. Staff reviewed a major mod for PD 99-0277 as most recently modified by major mod 20-0094. The PD covers approximately 70 acres and is approved for office, light industrial, retail, and educational uses. As you saw, the applicant is seeking to modify lots 1 and 2, which are currently permitted only for the college university use. The proposed change would allow a church and related accessory uses on lots 1 and 2. This change will also decrease the maximum square footage permitted in lots 1 and 2 and the overall PD when Development Plan 4 is used. Staff's compatibility analysis found that the change is not increasing intensity on the site beyond what is already permitted, and there is no change in required buffering and screening to residential to the south. Staff find that the use is not incompatible with the surrounding uses or within the PD or with outside the PD. No reviewing agencies provided any objections to the request. Therefore, staff recommends approval subject to proposed conditions of approval. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. No questions for you. Planning Commission?
Good evening. David Hay again with your Planning Commission staff. The site is located within the Urban Mixed Use 20 future land use category. It falls within the urban service area and is also located within the boundaries of the Greater Palm River Community Plan. The proposed major modification has an intensity of 0.08 FAR, significantly below the maximum permissible limit of a 1 FAR per Objective 8 of the future land use element, which outlines the maximum level of intensity or density and range of permitted uses. Policy 1.4 requires all new development to be compatible with the surrounding area. Proposed major modification to include a temple, a church meeting house, a temple retail store, and an enclosed maintenance area is compatible with the existing development pattern, the single family to the south, to the more intensive uses to the west and north, that mixed-use character in that area. Proposed major modification is supported by Objective 17 within the future land use element, which states that residential support uses, example, churches or places of religious assembly, shall be allowed within residential neighborhoods to directly serve the population. The Greater Palm Rivers Community Vision states that it encourages and supports new infill and redevelopment compatible with existing community patterns that maintains and enhances the community's unique character and sense of place. The proposed major modification to a faith-based organization is supported by the Greater Palm River Community Plan. Based on those considerations and the goals, objectives, and policies contained within the submitted Planning Commission staff report, the staff does find the proposed major modification consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, subject to the conditions proposed by the Development Services Department. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? All right, don't hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, do not hear anyone. Development Services, anything further?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And applicant, anything further? No. Okay. That closes the hearing on Major Modification 24-0796, and that concludes the zoning hearing master meeting for August 19, 2024.